AITA to telling my GF that we should break up if she wants to kick my niece out. My brother died to car accident 2 months ago. After he died I took responsibility of his daughter, but for some reasons my GF doesn't like it. For some backstory, my brother and I both raised my niece together. He had her when he was only 17 and I was 19 back then. Her mom left both her daughter, now 14, and my brother and basically just disappeared. I think she was 23 or 24. Anyway, my brother took responsibility of his child and I helped him raise her. My brother would often joke about that she's our daughter. God damn, I miss him so much. I spoiled her a lot. My brother restricted her. He didn't let her eat chocolates or buy her games, but she would always come to her uncle and I would spoil her. I miss those days. Anyway, after my brother died I took my niece under my care. I am still going through legal guardianship paperwork, but yeah, I am going to raise her. Problem for me is that my GF told me yesterday she doesn't like that my niece is living with us. She said she doesn't want to be responsible for a 14-year-old and she is messing with our love life. I asked her what she meant by that. My GF said she's been sleeping in our bed. I said that is a normal grieving process for a child who lost her only parent. There is nothing wrong with her hugging me or finding comfort in me. She said she doesn't want her to sleep with us. I said it's only been 2 months, give her some time. If rubbing her back or massaging her head helps her fall asleep instead of crying, then that is good for her. What would she say if we had a daughter and focused on comforting our daughter instead of focusing on you? She said that would be different because she would be our daughter. I got angry and said that if she doesn't like my niece staying with me until she finds her peace then we should break up. I told her currently I am her safe place and she's practically my daughter. I raised her, I share blood with her and now she needs me. My GF started crying. I comforted her and said I am sorry for being so direct, but I found what she said a bit offensive and rude. To help her I will hire a maid, but please give her some time and show empathy towards a child. My GF has been angry at me since yesterday. She only talks to me when I talk to her and she's completely ignoring my niece, and my niece is asking me if she said something wrong to my GF. I said she's just stressed. But I am wondering why my GF is reacting like this. Did I offend her? I don't really want to break up with her, but if I have to choose between them I will choose to help my niece for now. Update, AITA for telling my GF that we should break up if she wants to kick my niece out. I am so surprised that my post blew up and so many people dropped their opinions and thoughts and still commenting on my post. I thank you all and those who were asking. I have been with my GF for 3 years. I also confess that I am in the wrong by not having a clear discussion with my GF and those who were saying my niece should not be sleeping with us. Instead I should have got her own bed or stay with until she falls asleep. I already tried that. Initially she was sleeping alone, but she would wake up at night and I had to go to her and console her. She started sleeping with us because she was constantly afraid. It's trauma. She's only 14. To be honest, I don't care if she is sleeping by my side. She had only one parent. I was just a fill-in, and she lost her parents and she's an orphan now. She can sleep by me as long as it helps her. I think it's too soon to pressure her. I went to my GF and said we need to have an honest and open discussion and decide what we should do next. I apologized to her for not thinking about how she would feel, but I didn't have a choice. I had to bring my niece in. I also have to worry about all the legal paperworks, her school, my brother's assets and other paperworks. My GF said she doesn't want my niece to live with us and she has tolerated it for long enough. I said I understand, but it's kinda unfair that you would be so cruel to a child, and I expected that my partner to help me when I am going through so much legal work and care for my niece and work. I wanted your support. She said she will support me, but she doesn't want to live with a 14-year-old and care for her. Either I choose my niece or her. I explained to her that I understand your frustration and as much as I want to choose you I cannot. You already know that I also have raised her and now she has lost her father, only I can help her. She has nowhere else to go except my old parents, but they can barely help themselves. She started crying and said I am not her first priority. I said I am sorry, but I have no choice. I have been in her life ever since she was born. Not only am I attached to her, I am also related to her by blood. Now that her father is no more, she's mine and I have become a parent. It's difficult, but I have no other choice. My GF packed her bag and she left. Before leaving she said we should take our time and think this through and see if we can overcome this. We both decided that we will stay in contact and discuss in future. When my niece came back from school she asked where my GF is. I said she went to her parents. My niece started crying and started blaming herself. She said she is the reason why my life is falling apart and she doesn't have any parents. I guess she picked it up after my GF gave her silent treatment. I comforted her and said that it's not her fault and as long as I am with her she doesn't have to worry about anything. She's going to stay with me from now on. She calmed down and I took her out to her favorite restaurant, but I don't feel good at all. I am happy that I choose my niece over everything else, but I also lost my love, which makes me so fucking angry and sad. Stories number 2. AITA for refusing to give my mother access to my savings account even though she says it's for family emergencies. Advice needed. I, 24F, have been working since I was 18 and have been diligently saving money. Over the years, I've built up a decent emergency fund and started putting money aside for a house. My parents have always known I'm good with money, but recently my mom, 48F, has been pressuring me to give her access to my savings account. She says it's because the family has had a lot of unexpected expenses lately, like car repairs and medical bills for my younger brother, 15M. While I understand money is tight, I've always helped when I could. I've paid for groceries, contributed to household bills, and even helped cover my brother's school supplies. But my mom insists it's not enough. She wants direct access to my savings account just in case something big happens. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that since I've worked hard for this money and it's meant for my future. I also mentioned that I'd be happy to help if a real emergency comes up, but I'd prefer to manage it on my terms. She got really upset, saying I don't trust her and that I'm being selfish. My dad has stayed out of it, but my older sister, 26F, thinks I'm overreacting and should just let mom have access. She even said, "What's the point of saving if you're not going to help your family?" Now, I'm feeling torn. On one hand, I want to help my family, but on the other, I don't think it's fair for me to hand over control of my hard-earned money. AITA for refusing to give my mother access to my savings account. Stories number 3. AITA for not telling my wife I'm taking random days off here and there. I've been at my job for 10 years and have 30 PTO days a year plus holidays. My wife only has 17 PTO days plus holidays. I try to take some days off randomly to do me stuff since I have extra days I can't spend with her. But every time I tell my wife I'm taking a day off, something magically happens to ruin my day. A sniffle that we would have normally sent our kid to school with all of a sudden becomes, "Well, you're home, you can stay with him." Or a myriad of other things that just magically pop up. Help my mom with X. Do XYZ chore that happens to take 6 hours. Last week I took a day off and didn't tell her. I played video games for 4 hours, met a friend for lunch, and took a nap. She was all pissy when she found out. AITA for not telling her I took a PTO day to veg. Stories number 4. How far are we from a class war? Economics. People are becoming more aware of how the system enslaves them. Capital and wealth, those with substantial capital don't need to work. They can invest in stocks and obtain returns of 6 to 7% by allocating money to safe assets like bonds. Rich arrogance, people, especially the younger generation, see the rich becoming more arrogant. For example, celebrities like Taylor Swift fly everywhere, even for trivial errands, while blaming society for global warming. Poor wages and exploitation, workers are paid minimal wages, while billionaires like Jeff Bezos track every minute of their employees' work, even bathroom breaks. Meanwhile, they spend exorbitant amounts on personal luxuries, such as Bezos, who recently spent $600 million on his wedding. Technology and AI. Advancements in technology and AI allow the rich to control the poor more effectively. Companies prioritize efficiency, investing in AI to replace humans. Layoffs are celebrated by investors as stock prices rise when companies reduce labor costs. Arrogant corporations invented the term quiet quitting, framing it as something negative, when in reality, people simply want to do their jobs, get paid, and avoid emotional overinvestment to protect their mental health and maintain work-life balance. Forcing people to return to the office, despite the fact that working from home saves time and money on commuting, is driven by their desire to maintain control and monitor employees every minute of their work. Corporations sell AI tools built on data they've taken from humans, often without respecting copyright laws. Despite profiting from this stolen data, they refuse to make AI open source. Instead, they optimize costs by laying off employees and letting AI take over jobs. The job market is increasingly competitive. Ridiculous multi-stage interviews, ghost job listings, and scarce opportunities make it difficult for new graduates to find employment. Rising costs, grocery prices and the cost of living continue to climb. Inflation eats away at people's money, leaving them struggling to make ends meet. The "you'll own nothing and be happy" model is becoming prevalent, with corporations selling everything on a subscription basis, further exploiting consumers. Gen Z faces poor mental health due to growing up with social media. Platforms like Instagram make them feel angry and frustrated as they watch the rich flaunt their lavish lifestyles. Meanwhile, they can't afford college, drown in debt, and live paycheck to paycheck. Healthcare costs are out of reach for many, leading to further frustration. Support for figures like Luigi Mangione, who critique the system, is growing. Billionaires like Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg have multiplied their wealth many times over in just a decade, while ordinary people struggle. As corporations confidently reduce their workforce and replace white-collar jobs with AI, society's anger will grow. Those who invested heavily in education, only to find themselves deemed unnecessary by corporate greed, will feel betrayed. AI is developing at an exponential pace, accelerating these changes. The current capitalist system, including the 8-hour workday and 5-day workweek, was designed for the previous century. Yet, the rich continue to exploit the poor. Competition is nearly impossible for small businesses. Most markets are dominated by monopolistic corporations. Even those who despise Amazon are forced to support it because there are no viable alternatives. How long can this capitalist system last before a class war begins? Stories number 5. AITA for refusing to give up my front row spot at a concert to someone claiming to be disabled. A couple of weeks ago, I traveled to another country to see an artist I've been a fan of for 6 years. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and I'd been waiting months for it. I sacrificed a lot financially and mentally to make it happen. Since it was my first, and probably only, time seeing them, I went all out. I bought GA tickets and arrived at the queue at 5 a.m., even though the doors wouldn't open until 6:30 to 7 p.m., in freezing cold weather. I waited all day, hungry, cold, and dehydrated, but it was worth it because when the doors opened, I secured a front row barricade spot, right up against the stage. This was my dream spot. Then, a guy behind me tapped me on the shoulder and told me he was disabled. He said the venue was supposed to let disabled attendees in early, but they hadn't. He asked me to give him my spot at the barricade. Here's the thing, I know this venue is very accommodating for disabled attendees. I actually have friends with disabilities who've gone to shows here, and the staff always ensures they get to the front row safely during a designated time frame before it gets too crowded. Now, I'm a very short person, 155 cm/51 inch, and this guy was extremely tall, easily over 5.5. If I gave him my spot, I wouldn't be able to see anything at all because he would completely block my view. I honestly would have been willing to move if he wasn't so tall or if I could still see from the second row. However, in this case, I knew I'd lose the view I had waited more than 10 hours for. I tried to compromise. I pointed out that the right side of the barricade was still open and suggested he go there. Since he's so tall, he'd still have a great view and could hold on to the rail for support. However, he refused, saying the view wasn't as good as where I was. While we were talking, that section filled up, and he became more insistent. He said he'd have a hard time if he couldn't take my spot. At this point, I got frustrated and explained. If his disability was that serious, he should be in the accessible section, which is specifically designed for attendees with disabilities. If he insisted on being in the standing section, he should have brought a support aid, like a cane. I'd seen someone nearby with one. If he spoke to security, they could escort him to the front row disabled seating, which has a fantastic view and is much more accommodating. After hearing this, he called me an asshole, told me to get fucked, and left. I feel like he just wanted my spot and wasn't being truthful. The venue offers several options for disabled attendees, and I tried to direct him to alternatives. I feel bad for saying no, but I don't think it was fair for him to ask me to sacrifice my entire experience. So, AITA. Stories number 6. My daughter thinks I am in the wrong for divorcing her father, AITA for telling her she is free to live with him. My ex and I have been divorced for 2 years. We have 2 children, ages are 4 and 15. Our daughter is the oldest and she loves her father to pieces. She took the divorce the hardest and does blame me for not working things out. We have all gone through family and individual therapy. It has been hit or miss. My daughter thinks parents should work through issues for the sake of the family. I have personal trauma with cheating. My father cheated on my mother countless times and she never left him because she did not want to be a single mom. Yet she more or less was because my dad was always off with another person. I swore to myself I would not go down that path. My mom also wanted me to work things out with my ex for the sake of the kids. Holidays are rough for her, especially Christmas. Her father is not exactly reliable and of course I am the bad guy when he fails do what he promises because things would be so much easier if we lived together. I was at my wit's end yesterday because her father promised to take her ice skating but never showed, but for whatever reason it become my fault because as per my daughter, if dad lived here he would not be so stressed and would have more time for all of us. At this point I told her she is free to live with her father if she wishes. I would not stop her and she was old enough to choose. So AITA. Stories number 7. AITA for telling my mom that I shouldn't have to be the breadwinner in a household of 6. I, 20M, live with my mom, dad, and 3 little siblings in a 3-bedroom house. My mom doesn't want to work as she chooses to be with the kids even though she is able to. My dad doesn't want to work either and chooses to watch TV all day. They fantasize about getting rich and such but don't actually do anything. I am faced with the burden of paying rent, helping out with groceries and buying household supplies, etc. Normally, this isn't an issue. They're my parents and I love to help out, but I feel I am being used and not appreciated. While I'm at work, my dad stays home all day and doesn't do anything, so when I come home on garbage day, they take all the garbage and leave it in the garage for me to put away, and the garbage isn't even sorted properly, so I have to do that too. Maybe that's not a huge deal, but I feel that if you're not doing anything, the least you can do is at least sort the garbage for me. I also have to mow the lawn when I come home from work. I also don't really have any freedoms, which is annoying because I do feel like I deserve it. I currently don't have my own car and am trying to save up for one, so I use my parents' car to go to work, which took some convincing because they didn't want to waste gas money. For all of last year, I had to walk 1 hour to work, leaving the house at 5 a.m. To add, I only make $17 hour. Today, I confronted my mom and what I feel and how you guys can help me out some more or cut me a break on some things, and she essentially said, "You're our son, if you don't like it, you can move out." AITA. I don't know if I'm being ungrateful. Edit. Some people think this isn't true, so let me clarify some details. My mom receives welfare and gets a bonus for my 2 little siblings who are under 18. I'm not sure how much exactly she gets, but it's enough where she can still pay a portion of the rent and groceries. I pay around $800 for the remainder for the rent, and another couple hundred for things like household supplies or random things my mom may want. My issue is, both my parents are perfectly able to work, and they choose not to, which annoys me because they always complain about not having enough money even with me helping out. If my parents couldn't work, I would understand completely and have no issue helping out. Stories number 8. My mom had no idea women have died because of the anti-abortion laws enacted since the fall of Roe v. Wade. Let me say first that I love my mom, but damn it, she can be utterly blind. She's a lifelong conservative and currently visiting for the holiday. We bought her a flight since she's living on SS and whatever she pulls in from her part-time gas station job. She lives in a very red state and has faux news on all day. It's her only source of anything from the outside world. As I'm bringing her home from the airport, the conversation comes up that our family will be staying in a blue state so I can continue to have access to women's healthcare. I have endometriosis, so this is kind of a big deal. She had no idea that her state and basically the entire red belt has all but banned abortion, among other things too, but the conversation was about women's healthcare. She had no idea that women have died in TX because doctors were too afraid of being put in jail. Again, I love my mom, but I'm furious at how the woman that taught me to be a strong and independent woman has been brainwashed. I've tried to get her off faux news for decades, but she refuses to do it. It's infuriating. They aren't giving people news at all. Only what they want to hear, and I'm so frustrated I could scream. Stories number 9. Ornithophobe panics at bird, shoves coworker at moving vehicle, she's badly injured and demands his firing. I'm a manager. I'm having an issue with 2 of my staff, Liz and Jack. They were returning from an off-site meeting and had parked in front of our building. According to Liz and other witnesses, there was a bird on the sidewalk and when it flew away, Jack ran. Liz was less than a step ahead of him and he pushed her out of the way when he was running. Liz fell off the curb and got hit by a car that was parking. She ended up covered in bruises and breaking both bones in one forearm. Liz had to be taken to the hospital in an ambulance. The breaks were in the middle of her forearm and were so bad that Liz had surgery on her arm the next day and required a total hospital stay of 4 days. Jack didn't try to help Liz after it happened. He stood far away and came into our building as soon as the ambulance arrived. Jack told me, my boss in HR, he has a phobia of birds, and later produced a letter from his therapist stating he has been in therapy and treatment for ornithophobia and anxiety for over 2 years. He explained it was why he tried to run from the bird and said he didn't help Liz after she got hit because the bird landed on the ground close to her. Understandably, Liz is angry. She wants Jack to be fired. HR was wary of firing Jack when he has had no previous trouble and has a phobia and mental illness that rise to the level of needing treatment, and so am I. When Liz found out that Jack wasn't going to be fired, she quit. Liz was working on a few projects, and without her there could be delays and extra costs incurred. We have tried to get her to come back, but she refuses unless Jack is fired. Jack called her with HR present to apologize, but she didn't accept and yelled at him. With Jack's permission, his phobia and mental health issues were explained to Liz, but she says she doesn't care. What should I do? I don't feel comfortable firing Jack or recommending it given what he disclosed. I'm not sure where to go from here. April 27, 2017. There was a police investigation because Liz was injured by a vehicle. Both the police and the driver's insurance company found Jack to be 100% at fault for what happened, based on multiple witness accounts that Jack had extended his arms back and then out when he pushed Liz and didn't just lightly bump into her. Liz agreed it was Jack's fault and not the driver. One of the mirrors on the vehicle was damaged when Liz was hit and Jack paid to have it repaired as a resolution with the driver, and everything between the driver and Jack has been settled. Jack has not been charged with anything. It is still a possibility that he might be. HR and Jack had attempted to keep in contact with Liz after she got out of the hospital to see if there was any chance of her coming back, but she never responded. Eventually both Jack and the company received a letter from a lawyer asking that they not contact Liz again. She never asked for money to pay her medical bills, didn't file a workers' comp claim, and didn't take any legal action against Jack. The legal department and the outside legal counsel who HR got a second opinion from had told Jack and the company to prepare for a claim and other legal action and advised all to settle because Liz had a strong case. Her letter stated she had decided to not take action and just wanted to move on for her own well-being. She now has another job. Our company was not contacted for a reference or employment history. I don't know if Liz told them what happened during the interview, but our industry in this area is small and I know for sure she has now told her new job everything that happened. After what happened, Jack told me he decided to take a break from therapy and look at his options. I was surprised and he volunteered that information without me asking. But since I am in a management position over him, I didn't think it was appropriate for me to comment or tell him that. His work is still excellent and he has had no disciplinary or work-related issues. December 14, 2017. Liz is still at her new job and has not attempted contact, legal or financial comp with Jack or the company we work for either herself or through a lawyer or anyone else. Word about what happened and the aftermath has gotten around the industry a little. I have been asked about it by a few people I know from other places. I just tell them I have nothing to say and they stop asking. Jack is still working here. He has not re-entered therapy or isn't undergoing any kind of treatment. Stories number 10. AITA for refusing to attend Christmas dinner at my husband's childhood home after years of being treated as an outsider. Advice needed. My husband's, M33, mother passed away, and his father remarried 5 years ago. Since his father's new wife moved into my husband's childhood home, a 5-bedroom villa, things have completely changed. What was once a warm family home now feels unwelcoming. The unequal treatment has been consistent over the years. My father-in-law once yelled at me for holding a wine bottle incorrectly, and I've watched year after year as my brothers-in-law received thoughtful Christmas gifts while I got nothing. Last year, while I was pregnant, I received nothing, but my father-in-law rushed to give my brother-in-law his gift the moment he walked in. When our son was born, they came to the hospital empty-handed, no gifts, no food, nothing for the baby or me. In contrast, when my sister-in-law gave birth, everyone, including us, brought generous gifts. We gave her a full care basket with massage vouchers and clothing for both her and the baby. This year, for our son's first Christmas dinner at the family home, we were told we could only stay for one night, while my husband's sisters and their families are staying for the entire holiday period. They claimed there isn't enough space despite having 6 bedrooms. This means we would need to make a 90-minute drive back home with our baby after dinner. They even called to tell us we need to bring our own bed sheets for our one-night stay. I told my husband I don't want to go at all. I'm concerned about not only the practical issues of traveling with a baby late at night after a big dinner when we have an early flight the next day, but also about my son growing up seeing this unequal treatment within the family. My husband is asking me not to make things worse, but I feel like we're already being treated as second-class family members and I'm done with tolerating this. AITA for refusing to attend Christmas this year. Stories number 11. AITA for not letting a woman in front of me in the self-checkout. My mom sent me to the grocery store 3 times today. I was just picking up 2 packs of beans on the last visit and was in a rush to get home since it was 7 p.m. While I was waiting for a self-checkout to open up, someone who I guess was the woman's ride came in to check up on her, and then I guess she was in a bit of a rush because she came up behind me and tried to squeeze in front of me while saying, "Excuse me." I just ignored her and continued waiting, but then she asked me if she could cut in front of me and she told me she had to pick up her son from a soccer game. I thought it would be reasonable to say no, and I explained I only had 2 items and that it wouldn't take that long for her to wait since there were 7 checkouts, but then she started calling me a heartless bitch and that I don't have the Christmas spirit and how I want her son to suffer in the cold and how people these days have no compassion. She also started talking about her labor and contractions when she gave birth, which how that has any relation to me. Honestly, I was really uncomfortable. It wouldn't be hard for me to just let her go, usually if someone were to ask and they had less items than me then of course, but I felt like it wouldn't make much of a difference in time. I only have 2 items, and also it's -5 degrees outside and not even soccer season. I don't know. Stories number 12. AIT, my relative took some toys for her grandkids without asking me. Not the a-hole. I have various family members visiting with their kids around the year. They bring their kids and as the fun uncle, I take them around town and see the sights and parks. This time I had a pile of new toys that I had been saving to give to a charity, and this relative, Heather, asked me why I had so many. I explained the situation and that I was giving them in remembrance of my mum, since she loved kids. Heather then mentioned that her very young granddaughters might appreciate a couple of the toys too. I just looked at her and said no. It's not that I don't give the kids and the family presents, but these were not for them. We didn't discuss it again. The following day Heather left to go back home whilst I was at work. When I returned, I was told by family that she had asked them if she could take a couple of the toys. Now Heather is quite forceful, and the other family member was a bit cowed, and kind of just mentioned maybe she should wait for me to get home. Heather overrode their objections and took the toys and left. I was obviously pissed when I got home to that news and rang her straight away. She claimed that the charity, it's a children's hospice, wouldn't miss a couple of toys, and it was too late now as her granddaughters had already opened them and loved them. Heather said it sounded like I was calling her a thief, and she didn't appreciate that, and now I had spoilt the joy she would have at seeing the little ones playing with them because of my implication that she had stolen them. I was so furious that I slammed the phone down and didn't speak to her again for around 4 months. Now during that time she would ring and my other relatives would answer the call and chide me for not forgiving Heather. When I finally did talk to her, she said she would no longer allow herself to feel guilty for what she had done, and I could not sit in judgment over her and make her feel bad. Now I know she's a complete and utter for what she did, but my family are telling me to drop it as it's been months and I'm causing an unnecessary fuss. I have decided to be civil since she's ill, but I really can't forgive her for not only taking those toys but also not being able to feel like I can trust her my home if she ever visits again. So am I the for still being a judgmental *** and not truly forgiving her? Edit, didn't realize this would get this many responses, if only my HomeKit query did. Just to clarify, Heather's reasoning for not being a thief is that she informed my wimpy relative that she was taking the toys. So it can't be stealing if she told one of the family she was taking them. Stories number 13. AITA for asking for a paternity test because the dates aren't sitting right with me. Me and my ex broke up 4 months ago and I know that for fact. We haven't spoke since then, and she hit me up out the blue with a scanned picture yesterday and says I'm the dad. The first question I asked was, how far along are you? Purely for the fact I was being sent a scanned pic, so she must have been a little along. She said she didn't know for a while that she was pregnant because she has irregular periods, but she found out, and by the time she had that scan the baby was 13 weeks. Thought about it for a sec, and that's like 3 and a bit months. But regardless of that, I said, why didn't you tell me as soon as you found out? She said she was too scared. Fair enough. But then I brought the dates up, told her 13 weeks is like a little over 3 months, we broke up 4 months ago, which would make her more 17 weeks, so I wasn't fully convinced I was the dad, and that until I find out properly, I don't know what she wants from me. She instantly got defensive, said I was the dad again, and said a pregnancy takes a few weeks after sex to properly begin and they go from that date or something. I'm not going to pretend I know every detail of pregnancy, and that I'm definitely the dad. I still told her I wasn't convinced. Last time we had sex was actually the day before we broke up. So I don't see how I can be the dad. In my eyes there's a month between that I didn't sleep with her. I asked her if she'd fucked anyone else after we split, she said one guy, but they used protection. I told her I was pretty adamant that I wanted a test done. I've had her mum and her sister message me too, telling me I'm the dad and to stop being a prick. I'm not being a prick. There's a jump in time between how far along she is, and the last time we slept together that's confusing me. Also told her I thought it was suspicious why she was acting this pissy over me wanting a test done and that I didn't see me wanting one as a big deal, and that my reason was valid. She said we can do the stupid test, but there's no need because I'm the dad and I should take responsibility. I never said I wouldn't, I said I will take responsibility, when I find out the child is mine. And that until we can do this test, don't hit me up. But I'm being made to feel like a fucking idiot because of dates and times and details. She's 13 weeks pregnant, and we broke up 4 months ago. That's around 17 weeks. That makes no sense to me. Edit. Thanks to some folk in the comments for explaining the whole date thing. Like I said, I don't have a clue, not gonna lie. All I know is she had irregular periods, man shrugging, light skin tone. Yeah, I'm an idiot for not wrapping it up too, that's for sure. Another note to some of the comments, either way, I'm fine. If the child is mine, cool, if the child isn't mine, cool. But I highly doubt I am, but if I am, yes, I'm taking responsibility, course I am, child support, wanting to split the child care, all that stuff. I wouldn't abandon my duty. But until I get a test done she can fuck off. Stories number 14. AITA for leaving a woman stranded after she insulted me while I was trying to help her. So, this morning was freezing, like 12 degrees with a brutal wind chill. I was heading to work when I noticed a woman standing next to her car with its hood up in the grocery store parking lot. She was waving her arms at passing cars, clearly in distress. I'm not a car expert, but I know how to jump a battery, so I figured I'd stop and help her out. As a note, I'm a woman as well. I pulled over, rolled down my window, and asked if she needed a jump. She immediately came over to my car and started going off, saying, "Finally. What took you so long? Are you blind? I've been stuck here forever." I didn't let her attitude bother me and grabbed my jumper cables. As I was hooking them up, she barely acknowledged me and just stood there scrolling on her phone. I told her to try starting the car, but it didn't work right away. I explained that sometimes the battery needs a few minutes to charge, and she totally flipped out. She goes, "Are you even doing this right? What's the point of stopping if you're just wasting my time?" I tried to stay calm and suggested she be patient, but she then looked at my car, which is admittedly not that nice looking, and said, "Figures, you drive a piece of junk and you're trying to help me." I should have waited for someone who actually knows what they're doing, like a man. At that point, I was done. I unhooked the cables, packed everything up, and started walking back to my car. She shouted, "Where are you going? You can't just leave me here." I turned around and said, "Watch me," and got in my car to drive off. As I left, she threw her coffee cup at my car and cursed me out. So, AITA for walking away and leaving her stranded? I feel like I was just trying to help, but her attitude was completely uncalled for. Plus, it admittedly is unsafe for a woman to be stuck somewhere with car troubles. My friend said I should have helped her because of girl code, but I think she broke girl code first. Stories number 15. Ex-friend 34F asked me 35M about our relationship over 10 years ago. How to respond? So this will be a weird one. I made a throwaway for it as I think this is a pretty unique situation that the person in question could very easily figure out is about them and I don't want them knowing my main. If they even use Reddit. I 35M am happily married with 2 children. My wife 32F and I have been together for 8 years, married for 4. We were out shopping in our hometown when we ran into my ex-friend, her parents and her children. She moved out of state over 10 years ago and I haven't seen her since, nor have we had any contact other than Facebook happy birthday wishes. She is married with 2 kids of her own. Anyway, onto the situation. My FIL and her father are friendly with each other. Both retired military and occasionally have breakfast together with their other retired friends. When we ran into each other, ex-friend's dad congratulated my wife and I. We figured my FIL told him we're expecting our 3rd child. I saw my ex-friend look at my wife's belly and then acted distant for the rest of the exchange, whereas she was friendly starting off. We trade pleasantries and say goodbye. My wife and I continue about our shopping. By the time we're done I check my phone and see I have a Facebook message from ex-friend. XF, it was good to see you again. Me, you too. The family looks good. XF, yours too. Would you want to grab coffee and catch up? I'm in town for a couple more days. Me, we're actually pretty busy, otherwise I would be down. I'm sorry, XF, I understand. Adulting. Can I ask you a question? Me, sure, what's up? XF, was I just not your type? Me, what do you mean? XF, I'm asking what did I do wrong? Me, didn't respond as this was out of nowhere. XF, I pursued you for years. We were inseparable for years and you never gave us a real chance. I loved you. Our families loved us. Our friends loved us together, you just never committed all the way to us. You wouldn't even have sex with me and I need to know why. Was I not good enough? Could you not see yourself married to me and having a family together? I didn't respond and I showed the messages to my wife. She knows of this girl and my reasoning for her and I growing apart, mostly because we see her family everywhere, and she asked. My wife told me to be honest with her, but I'm not sure if that's right. It feels mean. I'm going to give my POV on our friendship and I'm hoping I can get some advice on where to go from here. Basically, she and I met through friends in high school. I was very interested, but she was dating someone at the time. She ended up asking me out a month or so later and we went on dates and kissed a few times, though we never had the conversation on being official, hence me calling her friend and not girlfriend. One night while riding in the car, her, who I thought was ex-BF, called her and asked when she'd be over. She didn't have it on speaker but I could still hear the conversation. She told him, I can't talk right now, and he asked who she's with. She didn't tell him. He later figured it out and messaged me on Facebook asking if I knew they were still together. I apologized and said I didn't and would cut things off. I called her and she started crying, saying she didn't have the courage to tell me they were still together, but she liked me so much and was going to break up with him. I cut her off anyway. Fast forward a few more months and she reaches out and we go through the same motions. Her wanting to be with me but always having another guy messaging her that I would catch out of the corner of my eye. This lasted, embarrassingly, years. Throughout college and our early 20s it was always the same. She'd reach out, we'd reconnect and things begin getting serious again. I'd check her social media and see she just broke up with someone. We even went on vacation to the mountains together for a weekend and the same thing. She had literally just been there a month ago with her ex. The trip with me was her idea. The worst part is both our families really did love us together. My parents were never rude to my girlfriends but would ask me how XF is doing these days. Or snide remarks about how her parents miss me. Hell, even my now FIL at one point mentioned that X's dad brought up how he really thought I'd be his son one day. I confided in my friends years ago that I'm always just a rebound or backup plan, and that's why I could never commit or get more physical with her. They told me to just sleep with her when she comes calling and don't pursue anything more. The problem was I wanted more but felt used. Anyways, every time we would plan things out where sex was more than likely on the table, I'd see a guy message her or I'd see a post on social media and it just killed my enthusiasm. When I say that I mean literally. It crushed my confidence every single time. One of my best friends told me I didn't have to pay attention to all that and could have just had my fun with her. Didn't mean I had to chase a relationship with her knowing I was always a rebound. That felt shitty to me. I had other girlfriends here and there but I wanted this girl. We just clicked, you know. But it's like some sort of goddamn mystical being was showing me a sign every single time things were going to progress our relationship. I just didn't want her to be getting over someone else or having someone on back burner when we'd reconnect. Maybe that's my own insecurity, but I know how I felt and it didn't feel good. So I slowly distanced myself. After a short amount of time passed I met my wife. She met her husband and our lives moved on with little to no contact until the other day. I haven't responded to the message and it's been 2 days. I was thinking of just lying and saying it's not her fault or just not responding, but my wife is insisting I tell her the whole thing. I know this is a word wall but I'm honestly conflicted. I told my wife I was going to ask others for their opinion and I'm considering the internet as my others. TLDR ex-friend Facebook messaged me asking why she wasn't good enough for me after running into each other over 10 years later. We're both married with children of our own. How to respond to her messages. Thank you everyone for responses. I decided to listen to the majority and responded to ex-friend A. The response was well received and we chatted the rest of the week and met up on the weekend before Easter. The short of it is we're both leaving our partners. A and I are gonna try this relationship again now that we've completely opened up to each other about our true feelings. Thank you all for the encouragement to do this. Couldn't have done it without you. April Fools. I would never. The real update is pretty anticlimactic unfortunately. I ended up just never responding to A. It had already been 5 days by the time I read through every response and decided to just let it go. My wife was fine with that but told me to block her if she messages again. We did a couple Easter egg hunts with different family members yesterday including at my FIL's. They have a decent-sized property and host quite a few people so I wasn't surprised to see non-family members. I was however surprised when A's parents were there with her children. After all the adults scattered and hid the eggs and the kids started their search, A's dad came over to chat with me, nothing out of the ordinary, and we shot the shit for a few minutes. Towards the end I asked if the kids were staying with them for Easter and he basically told me A and her husband were having some troubles and they needed some time alone to sort things out. He didn't go into specifics so I don't know exactly what troubles are, but congratulations to those of you who called that one. For now this should conclude the story. If she does happen to reach out again and I feel it's worth letting you all know what it says then I will. Otherwise, thanks again. TLDR joke intro. Saw ex-friend's parents and her children at FIL's Easter egg hunt. Her and her husband are having troubles. Stories number 16. AITA for causing a rift in my brother's marriage by calling out my sister-in-law for lying in front of everyone at my Christmas party. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone that read my post and tried to give me advice or just overall help me feel better about the entire situation. I originally intended to look more in depth at the comments and reply to some/answer questions, but I've too stressed and too preoccupied because so much has happened in a short time. I now have a lot of new information to share that has changed everything. My brother is now going to be staying with my wife and I for the time being. We decided this when he unexpectedly arrived late last night, and we had a long talk where I learned the full scope of everything that had happened with Hannah after the party up until now. He said that after taking some time and space away from her, he asked her to have a sit-down talk. He explained to me that during this time he realized she was 100% lying and I was 100% telling the truth, but still wanted to try and give her a chance to fully explain why she would act the way she did, why she would lie, and how she could justify treating him and I this way. Hannah tried to deflect and gaslight him when first confronted, but when he made it clear he wasn't having it, she snapped. And admitted to him that she's always disliked me, and the main reason why is because she's uncomfortable with my lifestyle. She went on to say that Jess makes her the most uncomfortable due to her appearance and what she wears, my wife is extremely masculine presenting, and that she's just so sick and tired of pretending none of this upsets her. There was more, but Alex said that was all he was going to tell me. All of that was of course her reasoning for lying to my brother by telling him that I allowed the baby to attend the wedding last minute, and that she had secretly hoped her baby would fuss or cry and ruin part of the ceremony, which obviously happened. She explained that she wanted to do something similar for the Christmas party in order to make me look unhinged and like I didn't want them there, making the wedding incident seem like a completely different situation to the family, one where she is the martyr and I the aggressor. I always knew she didn't like me, but fuck, I didn't realize she was so homophobic that the mere fact Jess and I exist at all is detrimental to her. I decided that I'll never tell my wife the details Alex told me, but I'm honestly glad I know all of this now. I'll never feel guilty for calling out shitty behavior from people ever again. Alex assured me that he was extremely disgusted with her and what she said, and had absolutely no idea she felt this way at all. But, he then told me he wasn't actually done telling me everything she confessed. Here's where shit really hits the fan. Hannah, after going on her homophobic rant, started to get antsy and pace around the room, leaving my brother just sitting there, devastated and confused. After a few minutes of said pacing, she continued to confess to my brother, now explaining that not only is she having an affair, she is also 100% certain he's not the biological father of their child they've been raising together these past 11 months. What made things even worse was, after some prying, she eventually let it slip that the affair has been going on for 6 fucking years. She claimed it was love at first sight when she first met her college friend's older brother, Josh, 42M, at a party 6 years ago, but she also knew she never wanted to lose my brother as he was her perfect match, which obviously makes zero sense all things considered. Also, for some added context, they've been married for around 6 years, meaning she has been having an entire secret, serious relationship with another man for the entirety of her marriage to my brother. Safe to say I am completely shocked, and all I've been doing is spending time with Jess and also Alex. He has been staying with us as I mentioned above, since things are extremely tense and hostile between him and Hannah. They are obviously going to be getting a divorce, but with Christmas literally around the corner, everything is on pause, according to him. I respect this, but also cannot wait for her to officially no longer be in our lives. As for Hannah, she seems to have quite literally moved on overnight with Josh and their baby. Overall, I cannot believe she'd betray my brother like that, and I'm sad to know she's been so hateful towards me because of my sexuality. I don't know if I'll have another update, but maybe. I just feel so depleted after yesterday. Stories number 17. The love of my life is having a baby with someone else. It's near 5 in the morning. Christmas Eve. I am alone in my bed because the love of my life is currently in a hospital 3 hours away having his first baby with someone he knew from work. If the baby survives, it will be a daughter. We're not technically married, but I've lived with and loved this man for 8 years and we both considered ourselves married. I only learned about this less than a week ago. I am empty and hollow and full of rage and grief and jealousy. I have never been sure if I wanted kids, but I never had a doubt that if I did I wanted his children. I cannot believe this is happening. I'm lost in a waking nightmare. The life of the baby is at risk and I am so worried about her. I also don't want her to exist. Very conflicting feelings. I'm in so much pain. And I am alone. And it's Christmas. Why didn't he protect our relationship? How could he lie to me for so long? How could I not tell? Things will never be the same. I started packing and then stopped. I don't want this to be real. I wonder if she will be born soon. I'm so jealous. I apologize for blasting my pain onto the world, I just can't bear it alone. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas. Stories number 18. My sister's BF tried to kill her and used my child as a hostage. Posting on a throwaway as I frequently use Reddit and my family might see this. Just to start off, everybody is okay. He was caught and arrested and is currently in jail with a bond his family can't afford. Where to start, but I guess I'll start by I'm traumatized. As a parent, the second worst thing that could happen, happened. First being death. I didn't know where he was for 6 minutes, but it feels like it was 30. And I feel like I was the last person contacted to know what was going on. I'm angry. I'm angry at my sister's BF, I'm angry at my sister, and I'm angry at myself. I know I shouldn't be, but I am. To make a long story short, my sister was supposed to watch my son a couple nights ago. She said she wouldn't be off work in time but that he could watch him for 30 minutes, an hour before she got off. I thought it would be okay since it wasn't a long period of time. I was so wrong. I got a bad gut feeling when I pulled in to drop him off, I ignored it. I chalked it up to being anxiety, and I was just being selfish and wanted a fun night out. I get a call around 45 minutes after dropping him off, sister's BF, just came to, sister's workplace, B*T her up, crashed her car, and took off with, my child, in said crashed car, I'm sorry, my name. I called back and she told me that they found him but I couldn't see him yet and I was instantly thinking he was dead. That was the worst 6 minutes of my life. Basically, my sister tried to break up with him that morning, but in his eyes she's not allowed to break up with him and that's what started all of this. I guess he was using their dog as a hostage at first and so my sister got our other sister to get her dog out of that situation. She said she was going to tell me not to drop off my child but that he was acting fine and had calmed down so she didn't. But I really wish she did, and I'm mad she didn't. I would have never dropped him off. He pulled up to her workplace, told her if she didn't come out he would harm my child. Speeds off into an alleyway by her work and strangles her. Told her, do you really want to break up with me? I just want you to know if you break up with me and, my child, are gonna go on a ride. She says no and he calls her a liar and crashes into her job sign, totaling her car. Then tells her if she tries to run or scream for help he'll kill, my child. Hit her again, more arguing, starts to speed off to try and kidnap her and she jumps out of the car and runs screaming into her job. Police found my child alone in their apartment with the door locked. He dropped him off and took off on foot. He turned himself in after hiding for about an hour. Crying and admitting everything SMH. My child is fine, didn't know what was going on, thought they were playing. But I am not okay. My sister isn't okay. She's been left with a large financial burden as they live together, and is out of a car. And she is traumatized. I feel so bad for feeling angry with her. I know I wouldn't know what to do in that situation as I've never been in it and she was in fight or flight, but I am angry. Irrational or not, I'm angry she didn't let me know they were having problems. I'm angry she jumped out of the car screaming after he said he'd kill my child. I'm angry I wasn't told immediately. But I also feel bad. I've always been my sister's protector, and I wasn't even worried about her when this was going on. I was only worried about my child. I feel more angry that my child was involved than about what happened to her, and that's terrible. Ick, why I feel this way, and ick, what to do with it. Ick, what to do from here. I want to make a post exposing him, maybe set up a goff *n me for her, but I know she doesn't want that. I want to press personal charges / sue him, but I don't think she wants that either. I just don't know what to do or what to do with my feelings. My family doesn't even want to talk about it. There's so much more I could say, but at the end of the day, I am so thankful that my child is okay. I prayed so hard. I'm thankful my sister is physically okay with only mild bruising. And I'm thankful he's in jail, just hoping for a strong sentence. Edit, I feel like there is some confusion. The dog hostage situation happened around 1 or 2 p.m., I think, and I dropped my son off at 7:45 p.m. Not to say, it wasn't bad judgment, but there was a good chunk of time in between the instances. However, I do not wish to condemn my sister or press charges on her. That wasn't the point of this post. She was just as surprised by this as I was. She was not covering for her abusive boyfriend, she had a bad lapse in judgment. She immediately ran into her job screaming to call the police, and helped get him in jail. I definitely will be more cautious though moving forward, but please refrain from the super harsh comments about my sister. She didn't intend for this to happen. Y'all have helped me feel justified in my anger though, and I really appreciate that, and maybe it's because she's my sister and she doesn't have a bad bone in her body, but you are right. Her dog is her baby, she definitely cares more about him than her nephew, and if it was him in the car, I don't think she would have jumped out. But I'll just have to sit with this for a while. Side post. Title: What happens if you are subpoenaed to court but the court date is rescheduled and they don't subpoena you again? My sister was subpoenaed as she is the victim in a domestic violence case, where my child was also involved and endangered. They told her she doesn't have to show up since they didn't resubpoena her, but what happens if she doesn't? Will they drop the case? Will they move forward? Should she be there? I don't really know how this stuff works. For reference, it's a hearing, it got rescheduled to tomorrow last minute, and we are in the state of TN. Update post. Happened back in May, he ended up only getting 6 years probation. Right before my sister was to testify they came and told her he took a plea deal. She was off the case and couldn't get any updates after that as it was no longer her case. His mom ended up sending me a very hateful and abuse-enabling, victim-blaming ass message on October 8th. He died November 22nd. Either an overdose or suicide or both. Not completely sure. Not much of an update. Don't really know how to feel. I'm glad he can't hurt anybody else, but sad he didn't get a just full sentence and got the easy way out. Ick. It's been a weird month. Edit, I realized I left some things out. He ended up posting bail after. I guess his family did indeed have money. About 2 weeks after all of this happened, my sister left work and found him asleep in her car. She got a coworker to take her home, and the next morning he showed up at her home and she called the police. He was arrested, without bail this time. He ended up getting a nice lawyer, and the rest is history. Me and my sister have not been on speaking terms since June, besides occasionally on Sundays when we meet with the family we'd exchange a few words. After his death, we have since unblocked each other and have been in low contact. Hopefully we can move forward and work on our relationship. Stories number 19. AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's honeymoon after she changed her wedding plans last minute. So, my 32M sister, 28F, got married last month, and I was super excited for her. A few months before the wedding, I offered to pay for their honeymoon as a gift. I'd saved up for it, and I wanted to do something special because she's my only sibling. We agreed on a destination, and I booked everything: flights, hotel, excursions, the works. Fast forward to 3 weeks before the wedding, and my sister calls me to say she and her fiancé have decided to turn their big wedding into a small backyard ceremony. No big deal, it's their wedding, their choice. But then she casually adds, oh, and by the way, we're inviting only immediate family, so you can still come, but you can't bring your girlfriend. For context, my girlfriend and I have been together for 5 years. She's basically part of the family and was really looking forward to coming. I tried to talk to my sister about it, but she said they wanted to keep it small and that she hoped I'd understand. My girlfriend was hurt, but we decided to let it go and just roll with it. The wedding was fine, but it felt weird without my girlfriend there. Afterward, my sister asked and they'd get the details for their honeymoon, and I told her I'd decided not to pay for it anymore. I explained that it didn't feel fair to exclude my girlfriend from the wedding but still expect such a big gift from me. She got upset and said I was being petty and trying to ruin her big moment. Now my parents are involved, saying I should have just sucked it up and that family comes first. My girlfriend thinks I was justified, but I'm starting to second guess myself. AITA. Stories number 20. AITA for telling my sister I didn't get her pregnant. Edit, didn't know how weird the title was, sorry. My sister, 17F, is giving me a hard time and it's quite annoying because she acts like people are supposed to do what she says but that's not right. If I don't listen to her then she will get mad and try to gaslight me. Op, 16F. Backstory, my sister got pregnant by her boyfriend, 22M, or whatever she wants to call him. I think their relationship is gross. I was shocked because she's still young, our parents were mad at her and still are. My mom wanted my sister to finish school but she dropped out instead. I wished she finished because she had 1 year left. This wasn't good though, my mom told my sister that she is the one responsible for the baby and she will not be helping. She meant it because even though she's a grandma she wasn't helping. My mom told my sister her boyfriend should be helping since he's the father. Yes, she holds the baby sometimes to soothe him, she's still strict on my sister. My mom told my sister if she doesn't stop seeing her boyfriend then she won't help and she meant it. My mom was going to charge him but my sister puts up a fight. I feel like if my sister stopped trying to call him then my mom would help. Back to what I was saying, after the baby came her whole personality changed. At first she didn't even want the baby, she was refusing to feed him and he's only a week old. She feeds him every day and changes him but whenever I'm about to do something she wants to call me so she can nap. I would help fed him and bathe him sometimes but she started to overdo, I felt like the parent. She gets mad at everyone, she verbally abused me by saying hurtful stuff to me. Last week she told me I should die, like imagine your own sister saying that to you. Her boyfriend doesn't contact to see the baby even though she calls him a million times. I've been trying to have a good Christmas break but my sister is here. I was going to stay home but I decided I was going ice skating with my friends. When my sister heeded I was leaving she rushed to boss me, she told me I should change the baby diaper and fill up the bottles but that wasn't my job. I did not want to spend my Christmas break taking care of a baby. I told her she should do it because I have somewhere to be. That's when she told me I'm the aunt so I shouldn't complain. I didn't like how she tried to use that tried. I told her I didn't get her pregnant, and it's the father job also. AITA. Edit, thank you guys for the feedback. I see everyone insisting my mom get my sister checked out for PPD and I did share about it. She said she will see what she can do. I will try to update on the other important things. Stories number 21. Am I gonna lose my mom's friendship in PCC? Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is a mobile game version of Animal Crossing where players can customize their own summer campsite. Players also have the ability to connect to other users online as friends, to exchange gifts, visit each other's campsite, and share in-game resources. Online service for AC Pocket Camp ended on November 28, 2024, and a new paid version called Pocket Camp Complete became available. To stay connected to friends in the new version, both players need to update the AC Pocket Camp app before service ended, and then download and play the new Pocket Camp Complete. Original post. Am I gonna lose my mom's friendship in PCC? Hi everyone, I hope this post isn't too morbid, but while I've been excited about Pocket Camp Complete, I've also been very worried about the whole friendship transfer part of it. My mom loved Animal Crossing and used to play Pocket Camp back when it first came out. She passed away 5 years ago and I always found a little bit of comfort in knowing that I could still visit her camp and have that little part of her available at all times. Am I gonna lose that? My understanding is that only friends who have played the 6.0.0 version of Pocket Camp will be transferred to PCC, correct? Is there any way I can save my mom's game data and still have her as a friend on Pocket Camp Complete? Update, am I gonna lose my mom's friendship in PCC? This is an update from my post from a couple of weeks ago. TLDR, when all else failed, ACPC's wonderful customer service was able to find my mom's saved data and they made it so I could transfer it to a brand new Nintendo account, that way I could download the game to a secondary device and log into my mom's game from there. Now she'll show up in my game as a friend in Whistle Pass. Full version. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you who left advice and kind messages in the previous post. You gave me so many good ideas and most importantly, the strength to look for a way to save my mom's character in ACPC. So here's the whole story, in case anyone cares or simply wants to know what worked and what didn't. I started by messaging ACPC's in-game customer service and, after a day or so, they gave me a very long list of information they needed to try and retrieve my mom's data, if it was possible at all, stuff like the first time and last time she played, what villagers were in her campsite, what phone she used to play on, etc. I got kinda discouraged because of most of the info they wanted. I had no way of giving to them, like what was her in-game ID number, how many Leaf tickets she had, if she had ever purchased any, and many other things. So, I put that on hold for a couple of days and found my mom's last iPhone, to see if she still had ACPC installed. Of course she didn't. The App Store required her password to download the game, which I didn't have, and believe me, I tried to guess. I even brainstormed with my family to try and guess it. Someone in the comments of the original post suggested making a genius appointment and having Apple give me access to her account, so I went to the closest Apple store, but apparently Apple couldn't help with my issue for privacy reasons and told me to contact Apple Care. I went back home kind of defeated, I'm not gonna lie, but I wanted to keep trying. I spent the next morning on the phone with Apple Care and a lovely lady tried everything she could to help me. We were literally on the phone for hours, trying this or that method, stuck in an endless, insert password loophole, before we gave up. She was lovely and I really wish I had a way to thank her for actually caring. Basically, Apple has a new system in place with which you can register someone as your heir, and that person will get access to your Apple devices in case of your death. It's a new system, my mom couldn't have had it set up, so all I could do was ask a courthouse for a document stating that I was in fact my mom's heir and had valid reasons to want access to her account. This would take money and time, both of which I couldn't really waste, without even mentioning that unfortunately I don't think mine would be seen as a valid reason to make such a request. I tried to request ownership of my mom's iCloud by putting the wrong password in as many times as I could, saying I couldn't remember it and couldn't access her mail nor her phone to reset it, but the process could have taken weeks and Apple informed me that, for privacy reasons, they would have had to initialize her iPhone if I did get access to her iCloud and I really didn't want to lose all the pictures she had on her phone, the messages, and all her other things. I was really upset with Apple for making it so difficult. I understand why they have to be super cautious with these things, but still. At this point, I decided to give the long list ACPC support had sent me a proper try and I was able to send them a very limited number of answers to their numerous questions. This was my last resort and, after a couple of days, they replied by asking for some of the information I had already sent. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get my mom's ACPC account back. I kind of felt like I was talking to a bot right now. Why would they ask for the same information twice otherwise? I tried to be more detailed with my answer, and somehow, that worked. I wasn't talking to bots, I was actually talking to, at least, two wonderful people at ACPC's customer support, Stella and Marcio. Marcio managed to get my mom's data, by some miracle considering how little info I could give them, and they asked me to make a brand new Nintendo account, so that they could link my mom's saved data to it. And so I did. I asked my brother to download ACPC on his phone, linked the brand new Nintendo account to which my mom's saved data was now on, and yes, it worked. I got access to my mom's account and I almost cried because of it. I sent Stella and Marcio a thank you email, because their help was so precious to me, more than they will probably ever realize. And, in a way, this is my thank you email to all of you who encouraged me to try. Kindness and compassion always go a long way, and this is yet another proof of that. Thank you. See you in Pocket Camp Complete. Next day edit. Thank you all so much for commenting and caring about me. The amount of you who have genuinely cared about this situation is unbelievable. Some of you kept me in their prayers, their thoughts, and sent positive energy my way. I have no words to express how much that means to me, and I'm sure all of you are also to thank if this situation got a happy ending. I really wish I could reply to each and every one of you, but just know that I am reading every single comment and keeping it close to my heart forever. This is a wonderful community and I'm glad to be part of it. Stories number 22. AITA for researching stuff when my wife corrects me or tells me something I didn't know. My wife and I have been married for 6 years now and she keeps getting pissed at me for Googling or researching things when I find I might be incorrect or am incorrect about something, or when I'm curious about a statement my wife has said. I know it's probably not the best practice, but I have explained to her I don't do it to try and prove who's wrong or right, just trying to improve my knowledge base and learn about something. I even tell her I know and believe her, but want to know more or why I was wrong. She just views it as not trusting what she says. Stories number 23. My 41M wife, 41F, kissed another man on a night out. I wasn't bothered and now she's causing issues over it. Sorry if the title doesn't make much sense, I didn't know how to word it. Also on throwaway as I don't want this on my main. Bit of context. We've been together since we were 18. Never had a great sex lift after the first year. Maybe once or twice a year at most since then, but at the minute it's going on 3 years and although it bothers me I love her and I love our kids so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I know plenty of friends in the same situation. Another bit of context is that I've always been mildly overweight but always fit as I played a lot of sports until about 10 years ago when I got really ill and a mixtures of meds and comfort eating made me balloon up to nearly 300 pounds. Well, 2 years ago I decided to do something about. I'm now around 200, which at 6 feet 2 inches is the lightest I've been as an adult, and I've actually enjoyed using weights and for the first time in my life have a bit of abs and some muscle. My wife, having always been far hotter, is pretty obvious insecure about the fact that for the first time we've been together women are starting to look at me and message me on my baking pages on social media. For the record, I've never even looked at another woman in that way. On to the night in question. My wife went out with some friends, a mix of single and in a relationship. She looked stunning and I told her so. I even updated my phone home screen to that picture of her, lol. One of the friends she was out with messaged me about 3 months and the gist was she knows I get no sex, my wife doesn't realize how lucky she is and basically do I want to hook up. I obviously instantly take a screenshot and send it to my wife. Around 4 a.m. my wife gets home and she wakes me up as she gets into bed. I'm half awake but can tell something is wrong and ask what the matter is. She doesn't say anything for a few seconds and as I go to grab her hand she pulls away. I ask if she wants me to get her a drink and she says no. Then she just blurts it out and says, I met a guy tonight, he kissed me. I didn't kiss back at first, then I did. Then for the next half hour we were dancing and constantly kissing. She kept saying sorry and begging me not to leave her. My honest first reaction was, so what, it's only kissing and dancing. I didn't say that, I just hugged her and tried to calm her down. An hour or so later, once I got the right words in my head, I said, I know you feel really guilty but please don't, I'm not going to leave you and break up our family over some kissing and dancing, and I don't love you any less than I did yesterday, and this isn't something that's going to grow and cause and resentment. More or less right on cue my phone goes off and it's that friend of hers with a picture and a video of what my wife was doing. This set my wife off again, but my feelings still haven't changed and a month later that remains the case. In that month since then my wife has accused me of not loving her because I didn't care. She's accused me of kissing other people and more, which is why I didn't care as I was covering up my own indiscretions, and she's accused me of being gay multiple times, which doesn't make sense. She keeps asking me why I haven't initiated anything with her, even though in the past she's told me she hates being touched and not to ever try it on with her, which I have respected. She's basically projecting and it's annoying me as it's putting a strain on us which she is 100% causing. How do I get through to her that she needs to stop feeling guilty and just move on because I have, as it's not a big deal? I was genuinely more annoyed when she broke my baking bowl and tried to blame it on the cat, lol. TLDR, wife kissed another man. I don't care and now she's causing problems because she's guilty and projecting. How do I stop this? Edit. Hi all, just wanted to say thank you all so much for taking the time to respond to me, I really do appreciate it and I'm overwhelmed you all took the time. I keep getting asked a few questions so thought I'd address them here. Over the years we have been to a few different couples counselors and sex therapists, the latest being last September for both. My wife always feels like she's being victimized by them and we stop going. Nearly all have said though they think she is asexual, and two even saying she is displaying a lot of signs of being a closeted lesbian, which I have brought up to her before and she is adamant she's not. On that note, I've had a lot of messages saying she wants to feel wanted and for me to be more forward with her. This is not true. In all our sessions she said she doesn't want me trying it on with her, she doesn't even want me to initiate hugs, and just bringing up sex makes her feel under pressure. She let me, and our therapists, know that if she ever sex without her initiating it will be no more than pity sex. As for people saying I don't love her. I buy her flowers every Friday on the way home from work, I bake her favorite cookies or cupcakes every weekend, I send her voice notes of songs I'm listening to that remind me of her, I tell her I love her every day, I run her a bath every night. This isn't me showing off, this is how I was brought up to show love for those saying I must have been brought up in an unloving home. People have said that I don't get jealous, I don't love her. If she told me she was having an emotional affair, she spent hours on the phone with someone else laughing and joking, she snuggled on a sofa eating chocolates and watching TV with someone, etc., I'd be devastated. A dance and a kiss isn't a big deal to me and not even close to divorce. Thank you all again for reading XX. Second edit, sorry for these. It's 7 a.m. in the morning here now, the day after I posted this. Been talking to my wife since 6 and said she's got a week to agree to go back to couples counseling and she's got to stick it out this time and not just accuse them of taking sides and refuse to go back. She said no. She said they all bully her and make her out to be the bad guy. She said I went back on my word that I forgive her and won't resent her. I said this isn't about the kiss, it's about her reaction since the kiss and that it feels like she's purposely trying to drive me away and make me leave her. She just got up and stormed out the room. She then got dressed and said she's going out until I go to work. Update. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made the post and the short update is that we are getting divorced. I said in my last post I told her I wanted us to go back to couples counseling and sex therapy. She said no to both as we went before and she felt bullied. She said at sex therapy that unless she initiates touching, not just sex, any touching like hugs or hand holding, it will be against her will and will be forced/pity affection from her. The sex therapist said that's very unreasonable and that's why she felt bullied there. I tried to ask her a few questions too. Are you a lesbian or at least bi? Don't be stupid. Are you asexual? I'm not a teenager with a stupid label. What did he have I don't? Nothing, I just wanted to do it. Why don't you ever want to do that with me? Don't know. What can I do to make you want to do that to me? Don't know. Do you want me to take the initiative and try it on with you more? Fuck no, I'll tell you when I want it, don't guess. So she refused the therapy and gave me no straight answers. She has also said I've gone back on my word about not letting the kiss split us up because now it is. I said it's not the kiss, it's your behavior since then that has caused me to want to divorce. She said as it's my decision to divorce and it's all my fault then I should be the one to tell out kids and she will have no part of it. That was hard. As soon as they were told, my wife left for her sisters and in the 3 days since I haven't heard anything from her. I've tried speaking to her about the kids as they miss her but she reads my messages and ignores me. A lot of people asked about the friend and why they still talk after she tried it on with me. How I understand it is my wife tried to get the friend group to cut the friend out but they all pretty much refused and so my wife just chose to ignore her in group settings. On the night in question the friend approached my wife and told her if she didn't tell me she would send me the video. So my wife didn't tell me because she felt guilty but because she was forced. I've also spoke to a couple of other friends in the group and asked what's been going on, I'm not privy to. Apparently my wife was sexting her friend's boyfriend a couple of years ago. My wife has also been boasting about how she has me under the thumb and she gets away with giving me nothing and I'm too scared to ask. The friend apparently saw me out shopping one day and decided I was now more fuckable and thought she'd try and exact some revenge on my wife. So she didn't really want me, I was just a pawn in this weird friend group's one of many internal beefs with each other which I've found out about in the last few days. Basically they all seem to hate each other and mess with each other's partners. I'll be honest now and I feel incredibly guilty about it, but when she left my body and soul seemed to take a massive sigh of relief. It was like a black cloud that was dripping eggshells on the floor for me to constantly avoid has gone. I feel terrible for feeling this way but I feel like I'm my 6 feet 2 inches height now rather a browbeaten 3 foot who was scared to even say anything for fear of being told I'm wrong or insulted or ridiculed. It's like the blinkers have been taken off. Spent the day today baking with my kids, eating Easter eggs and watching cartoons and I haven't stopped smiling all day. I haven't winced or broke out in a sweat worrying I'm about to be told off about being too noisy or watching the wrong thing on TV or there's a wrapper on the floor, etc. Thank you everyone for your support on my last post. I appreciate you all XX. TLDR, we are divorcing. Sorry for updating here, I'm only allowed to make one update on RA. Also want to thank everyone again for their concern and kindness they've shown me on my 2 posts, and also thank you to everyone on Boru who made some lovely comments after my post was shared on there. Unfortunately, the post was locked before I found out, so I couldn't thank you all personally. After my last update, a lot of people commented and messaged me to say that am I sure my kids are mine. This thought never entered my head until I read what people said. Last Thursday I ordered a paternity test, sent it Friday and awaiting the results. At this point I don't really care, it won't change my love for them, but I'm terrified if they come back as not biologically mine I'll lose them. I discussed this with my lawyer last week, who said if they aren't mine it will be much harder to get even any kind of custody. I told him if it comes to that then I'll keep fighting until the end. Blood or no, they are my boys. Speaking of the boys, my STBX has seen them a couple of times with her mom, who is genuinely a nice person, and the kids have been fine. I can't say the same about my baking equipment though. She came into the house on Friday last week when she knew I was out and took a lot of it and purposely broke some bits she knew had sentimental value to me that came from my grandma and my mom. I can't prove she did anything, and she brought the stuff back on Sunday and said she just borrowed the items, but I love baking and she is slowly ruining it for me. I'd already deleted my Instagram page because she was insecure about the women who followed me, and this time she must have remembered I was making a cake for my niece's birthday and tried to sabotage it. I've made notes and screenshots of everything. As a lot of you rightly predicted, she had also been cheating on me a lot, although no evidence of it being physical yet from what I can tell. Her friend, who is also in this WhatsApp group where women basically just post nudes and men comment, I still need to get the details of this group so I can finally get to see some boobs again lol, sent me a lot more screenshots of photos she's taken, all round our house, blatantly her bedroom in some of them, and one even stood against my car. Also, a few of these friends are single, and when they hook up with someone my wife will add the guy on Facebook and has basically been offering herself to them. One of the friends messaged one of the guys who still had the chats in his Facebook DMs and sent the friend a load of screenshots to send to me. All in all, I must have over 100 screenshots of stuff she's been saying and sending to people, and all of that is within the last couple of years, so it probably goes on further. As for the divorce, still in the early stages. One day I want to fight, the next I just want to give her everything, materially, not the kids, and walk away and start again so I can get this finished and done. If you got any questions I'll try to answer. It's nearly midnight here, but I'll try to stay up lol. Mini update post. Title: It's 6 a.m. nearly here. My ex-wife has the kids last night and I'm drunk and lonely. First night I've had to myself in maybe 20 odd years, and I didn't know what to do. I thought about getting someone round so I could finally have some physical interaction. Instead I just sat on my own and drank for the first time in years too. Sorry for the boring post, I'm just lonely and wanted some affection. Update. Title: Update on my ex-wife no longer wanting to see our kids. It's been just over 3 months since she said she doesn't want to see them. Within a month of her saying that, she changed her mind and did want to see them. I spoke to my lawyer, who heard from her lawyer, and my lawyer said since there's nothing official about her giving up her rights I shouldn't stop her as it will look bad on me. I agreed then, but said I am no longer making 2 4-hour round trips every weekend to drop them off, it's up to her to come pick them up. My kids are now both constantly crying, saying they don't want to go and they are scared up there as she's always tired and angry. I'm having to console them constantly and it's breaking my heart. First weekend no show no notice. Second weekend she tells me she can't make it. Third weekend some random woman appears at my door and said my ex-wife sent her to pick the kids up. I tell her to leave and never come back. Ex-wife rings the police and tells them I am kidnapping my kids. Police, being the anti-father institution there, turn up and start telling me to take the boys back to their mum. I inform them they haven't seen their mum in months and I'm their primary parent. They don't believe me but eventually do when I show them the kids' school uniform and that they are enrolled in a local school. Her lawyer now says they want mediation. I end up traveling 2 hours for mediation with my lawyer and it's absolute bollocks. The mediator is the most biased person, to the point even my ex-wife's own lawyer said, "This isn't right and you are being ridiculous, it looks like we've paid you off," after the mediator's idea of compromise was me taking the kids up there myself, staying in a hotel nearby, giving my ex money to entertain the kids and then being on call to help out if my ex was struggling with them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We all walked away with no ideas set in place. I told my ex-wife and her lawyer outside. She or her parents come pick the kids up and that's it, there's no other solutions to this. The following weekend her parents are there to pick the kids up. My boys cried and fought and begged not to go and I couldn't stay strong. I broke down and just hugged them on my driveway for as long as it took them both to calm down, and I apologized and said, "I don't want this. I want you two forever. I'll see you tomorrow." My ex-father-in-law gave a sorry nod as he led the kids away, and that was it. Later that night I got a screenshot of a conversation my ex-wife had been having with someone saying that she wants more custody so she can start to claim money off me. That night the windows were put through on my house, and this was just the start of a campaign that is still going on now, which I assume is to make me react and look violent. I've had my car vandalized, windows replaced and then smashed again, online accusations made about me, my business hit with 1-star reviews, constant takeaways and taxis ordered to my house. My parents' house and car has also been targeted. It always happens on the Saturday night my kids are up there. I ring the police every time and log it and they never care. I've got proof it's her cousins after one of them filmed himself on the street next to mine at 2 a.m. and put it on TikTok. Police don't care. This is my life now. The poor kids having to go up there every weekend against their will. Me being constantly threatened. I've had official paperwork from her lawyer saying she's going to be asking for more custody. Me having to bite my tongue and hold my temper while me and my family are attacked and harassed. Having to see hundreds of people attacking my character on Facebook and Twitter as my ex tells everyone that I've turned the kids against her. Getting random men ringing me saying they are going to come and stab me for abusing my ex, having people say there's no smoke without fire and believe all women, etc., etc. I hate the way that this situation is starting to make me become a more hateful person. I'm nothing biases where I didn't before, and I'm also finding myself to become very untrusting of women, as 95% of the people calling me online are women. And it sounds terrible, but I was watching a show the other day where a woman was talking about her abuse situation, and my first thought was, she's lying to get him in trouble, and then I had to scold myself for victim blaming. This is really messing me up. You try and do everything right and nothing works. All I want is a quiet, safe life for my kids. Update. Title: My ex-wife has signed all the divorce papers out of nowhere and it's all in motion. All signed and sent off. I made an update about 4 weeks ago of all the shit my ex and her family have been doing. The day after the post I'd had enough. I left my boys with my parents and went to see her parents. When I got there they inviting me in, and over a cup of tea I shown them every piece of evidence I have. Screenshots, screen records, CCTV, and then the worst screenshots of messages between my ex and 3 of her friends who all betrayed her and sent me screenshots of messages she'd sent them with plans to make me lose the kids, burn down my business, even gave me killed. Then the worst one was a video from her friend's Real-Ink camera saying she'll tell the police I'm a child abuser in all the worst way possible. I said the police aren't interested, but if I ever hear from any of her family ever again I'll be posting every single bit on social media, every single bit. I told them that she can keep the house and that's it. They rang me that night and apologized and said nothing will happen again and that my ex agrees to the divorce, but can she see the kids 1 weekend a month? I agreed. The next day I rang my solicitor and between him and hers they agreed all the funeral details, and this morning I got it all back from her signed. Be a few more months until it's official, but it feels like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Update. Title: It's official. I'm divorced. Got the letter from the courts yesterday. It's actually a lot quicker than expected. They said January-February time, but it all became official yesterday. I celebrated by having a McDonald's and watching Christmas movies with my boys, lol. Stories number 24. I cheat when I play Mario Kart with my wife and son. I played Mario Kart when I was a kid. A lot. I noticed that for newer Mario Karts, if you don't get an early lead, you end up fighting with a bunch of CPUs, and you'll often get stuck in 8th to 5th place. My wife and son don't game, and they get easily discouraged when losing again and again, getting shot and zapped, never able to get first. It's not hard for me, and I like playing with them, so I always intentionally get 3rd place. I sit back when the race starts, and I basically just fuck over the CPU players, never letting them get close to my wife and son. They are so ecstatic and love playing now, and they even tease me. But honestly it's a more fun challenge anyway. I'll never tell them I'm not playing the game normally. Stories number 25. AITA for refusing to babysit my sister's kids after she called me lazy for working from home. I have a full-time job that I do from home, which requires a lot of focus and deadlines. My sister has 2 young kids, and she recently asked me to babysit them during my work hours because daycare is too expensive. When I told her I couldn't do it because of my work commitments, she got upset and called me lazy for working from home instead of having a real job. She said that since I'm home all day, I should have no problem helping her out. Now, my sister is mad, and some family members think I'm being selfish for not helping her. But I feel like I have the right to prioritize my work. AITA. Stories number 26. A hard-boiled detective saga as OOP is in a race against time to discover who keeps farting up their high-powered business deal. I work in upper-middle management at a large business and entertainment events company, and recently we got back to regular face-to-face client meetings. Over the last few weeks, we've been having some intense and lengthy meetings in our office with a potential local client, which could really take our company to the next level if it works out. However, a rather awkward problem has arisen. During these meetings, which tend to last all afternoon, someone breaks wind, silently, usually more than once. The odor is, frankly, overwhelming, yet there is not much in the way of any clear reaction from anyone in the room. I have noticed some people very, very discreetly eye each other suspiciously. But it's quite a formal and stiff atmosphere, with several very serious and no-nonsense senior executives present from both sides, so it appears if people are just doing their best to ignore this rude interruption. During one of the wind-breaking incidents, a junior member of staff sat with her elbow on the table and put her hand over her hand and mouth, trying to make it look like she was just resting her head, while another junior member looked uncomfortable but kept her head down and stared at her notepad. On another occasion I noticed one of the clients frowning and looking out of the corner of their eye, but frankly I dare not catch anyone's eye, so I always quickly avert my gaze to avoid any awkwardness or, God forbid, suspicion. Everything at our company is businesslike and relations are generally good. I know everyone reasonably well on our side, so I had assumed the culprit was from the would-be client's team. But imagine my horror when, after the clients had left our last meeting leaving our team to continue the discussion among ourselves, the silent boardroom farter struck again. I was incredulous. There were 3 senior male executives in the room and 2 junior female members of staff who were not always present at other meetings. So I am fairly certain the culprit is a senior management figure at our firm. I'm completely at a loss as to how to deal with this. I'm quite ambitious and have invested a lot of energy into making this project happen. So I can't believe that a senior company member is behaving in such a rude manner and potentially jeopardizing it by acting so unprofessionally towards potential partners. The potential clients cannot have possibly failed to notice the smell, and I can only assume they are simply being polite and professional by ignoring it. However, I am just afraid that there are limits to anyone's tolerance and that sooner rather than later they will decide it one way or another to end their interest in working with us. This is just such a strange problem. How on earth can voice my concerns to my superiors? Update, July 26, 2021. Thought I would give an update on the farting in the boardroom story of a little while back, as the issue did not go away and things turned out a lot differently than how I expected. So there were another 4 to 5 meetings. The farting continued. In some meetings it was worse than others. It did seem that those scheduled in the morning were less gassy affairs, although by no means did attendees enjoy fresh air for the entire duration of those. Despite the regular bouts of nostril-burning flatulence wafting throughout the room, it became clear we were going to be working with this client on a long-term basis, and the atmosphere grew a little more relaxed accordingly. On one occasion near the end of a meeting someone cracked a very funny joke, which provoked an outburst of communal laughter, during which someone, presumably involuntarily, let out an audible fart. It was short, not very loud, and if anyone noticed it they didn't let on. However, whilst I couldn't be sure if everyone heard it, it was certainly smelt by everyone. The eye-wateringly foul stench wiped the smiles off some faces and replaced the amused expressions of a few others with frowns. This seemingly brought this particular meeting to a slightly premature end, as the most senior member of the client team rose to his feet and said without a hint of irony, "Well, that's probably as good a note as any to end on for today." It was unclear if he was referring to the funny joke cracked moments earlier or the fart. Indeed, he seemed a very sharp individual who probably realized it was a perfect moment for ambiguity. But I have to admit the sight of everyone's eyes darting around the room as people tried to gauge each other's reactions to try and figure out exactly what he meant was an amusing one. But not as amusing as moments later watching senior management leaning over the table exchanging farewell platitudes and shaking hands whilst yet another stinking fart assaulted everyone's noses. It got to the point where people let their guard down a bit and became a little less restrained in hiding their reactions. An electric fan mysteriously appeared in the corner of meeting room one day, but it wasn't used for the first meeting it appeared in, probably as it was an early morning affair with limited silent and deadly emissions. But during one particularly gassy afternoon episode a week later, one of the clients, a younger female, was sat with the corners of her mouth pointing downwards and using a piece of A4 to fan the air, trying to make it look like she was just trying to cool her face. Our director saw this, and asked the junior member sitting nearest the new fan to switch it on please, seems it's getting a little hot in here, with a completely straight face. On the fan went, but the speed was set on a higher speed than anticipated and all that happened was pieces of paper, meeting notes, and a newspaper were blown off the table and flew around the room along with the familiar pungent stench. Thankfully this was laughed off, and I took advantage of the interruption to suggest a break, as we left the office juniors to clear up the chaos. During the unplanned interval, I noticed our most senior executive had hung back to help reorganize the room. This was most out of character, but it turned out he just wanted to get the newspaper, which had been blown inside out. Seconds later he emerged from the room and walked towards the gaggle of us who were drinking coffee and chatting in the open plan area outside the meeting room. He radiated a beaming smile as he strode right past everyone in the direction of the men's restroom with the newspaper tucked under his arm. Seeing that he didn't return to the meeting room for a good 10 minutes after everyone else had, it didn't take Sherlock Holmes to deduce why he had been so eager to get his hands on some reading material. This brazen and unashamed approach to bathroom business quickly led me to place him in the #1 position on the silent boardroom farter suspect list. I also especially noted there were no more silent but deadly interruptions for the remainder of that meeting, which went on for a further 3 hours or so. During our very last meeting, which was to seal the deal, there was an awkward culture clash. We work in a multinational office in a major Asian city. English is the working language, and between us and the client team everyone speaks English fluently, but there is a varying mix of comprehension of our host country's language. All of our senior executives are Westerners and unable to converse in the local language. I'm not a local but I'm fluent in the local lingo. During the meeting, 2 maintenance men wearing overalls entered the room and announced they were responding to a report of a fault in the ventilation system. But both the workers were not fluent in English, so I did some on-the-spot interpretation, to which our most senior executive replied, "Please tell the janitors the air con and ventilation system are working fine, we have important business to conclude today." I duly interpreted. But the workman, not at all concerned with the subtleties of boardroom etiquette, bluntly replied in the local vernacular, "There's no ventilation problem. It smells like shit in here." Which basically caused the half of the room who could understand to laugh and the other half to respond with smiles and looks of curiosity as to what exactly was said. Thinking on my feet I didn't translate anything back to my side, but urged the maintenance guys to come back in a few hours because it was a really important meeting and we really had to get on with it. It was a ruse which seemed to impress the client executive who is also fluent in that language, and offered my side a way to continue without drawing more attention to the constant bad smells than was necessary. The deal ended up being signed off and it was decided both teams would go out for dinner and drinks to celebrate. Sure enough the drinks flowed and both sides let their hair down as the night drew on. Whilst chatting with one of the clients, someone of similar level to myself, and with a few drinks in me, I couldn't help but bring up the farting issue. The client replied, "Oh, that was our boss, we're so sorry about that. He's a great guy but sits there in our office telling dick and fart jokes all day. He says it's an example of thinking out of the box to make our team more relaxed, comfortable with each other. So after each meeting we were telling him to quit passing gas. He would deny it each time but the whole thing had just became a running joke for our team so we just rolled with it, sorry." Very surprised by this revelation, and at the level of humor coming from such an otherwise professional and serious team, I felt it best to just laugh it off and not reveal real source of the reek. But emboldened by this, days later I ran into our senior executive's PA, who was usually in the meetings, and asked her straight up if the guy had a wind problem. "Oh yeah," she replied, "I'm glad my desk is outside, he just sits and farts in his office room all day and just doesn't care." I ended up feeling like I was the one who had the problems all along, a keener sense of smell than most, not especially amused by fart jokes, and a little naive. Seniority level and attitude to public farting are not necessarily linked. Stories number 27. Ever notice how every woman in your life wants to change their weight? I had lunch today with a friend of mine who is drop-dead gorgeous, stunning, thin, the works, and she could be a model if she wanted to. At one point, she commented about losing 10 pounds. I laughed and responded that we all will need to do that after the holidays. She responded that, no, she has been wanting to lose a little weight for quite a while now, and it's difficult to take off. So naturally, I started reassuring her that she is gorgeous. And she was thankful. But there was still that shameful glint in her eye betraying her true belief: she needs to lose weight. Nothing I say will convince her otherwise. As I headed home, I pondered this. It occurred to me that she is not unique. Every female friend, family member, acquaintance of mine that I spend significant time around, I can recall them making similar comments about themselves, within the last 2 or 3 interactions I had with them. They need to lose weight, they need a tinier waist, they need a smaller butt, they need a bigger butt, they need perkier breasts, they have an ugly neck, they want to look like some celebrity or other woman that they know, who undoubtedly struggles with her own sense of self-worth based on how she looks. And this is no matter how much they weigh, how curvy they are, how young/old, how tiny their waist is. Every single woman wants to change. I got home and looked at my children, feeling heartbroken about how this will affect them. On impulse I decided to pull out a mirror, position it right in front of them, and start posing and admiring myself. Of course my kids all started being like, Mom, what the EFF, and calling me cringe, but I did it anyway. And I asked them, don't you think I'm gorgeous? They all rolled their eyes and told me, no, I think you're weird, lol, but I persisted, and I looked each of them in the eye and told them they are so beautiful and perfect the way they are, and not to let anyone tell them otherwise. I'm hopeful that, as their parent, this will leave some kind of impression on them. Anyway. I'm curious what you think, ladies. Have you noticed that most women in your life want to change their weight? How do you think we can fight this? Stories number 28. AITA for taking my biological nieces on days out and excluding my adopted nephew? Throwaway. I, 42F, have 2 nieces Flo, 14F, Ivy, 11F, and a nephew Ryan, 10M, through my bro Tom, 46M, and SL Kate, 45F. Flo and Ivy are biologically theirs and they adopted Ryan 2 years ago after fostering him for 3 years. I live locally to them, we are super close usually and have my own daughter Ava, 12F, who my nieces are close to. Before foster care, Ryan's life was awful and he has some behavioral and developmental issues. He struggles to sit through long things such as shows quietly, whether it be in the theater or the girls' plays/recitals, so the girls rarely have both parents supporting them. His behavior is sometimes pretty unpredictable and he sometimes has pretty loud and physical meltdowns, so they have to be careful where they take him. As such, whenever me/hubby take Ava to the theater or other activities which Ryan wouldn't like, we bring the girls along too. Sometimes Tom and Kate pay for them, sometimes we do. We have never bought Ryan out without his parents and sisters because he has really different interests to the girls. I don't feel confident handling his behavior, and Flo and Ivy have expressed that they really value the Ryan free time. I've made extra effort to be there since then. Ryan's a great kid but he needs a lot of attention and my nieces need people who are 100% in their corner. Anyways, I am taking the girls to a Christmas theme park in London on Friday. It's quite an expensive one, UK readers, if you know, you know, and I have the joy of footing the bill for all 3. On Sunday, I got a call from Kate asking if Ryan could come with us on Friday. He had seen adverts and heard the girls talking about it, and wants to go. She offered to pay for whatever he did. I told Kate no, as I didn't know what he was like in crowds. She said he went 2 years ago and loved it, and his sisters were there to help him if he was struggling. I said that wasn't fair on them. I booked it as a girls' trip and it is supposed to be a treat and I don't want it getting cut short and I don't feel comfortable parentifying the girls. I know Tom's taking Ryan to London next week, so told Kate to book tickets on that day, but by that point she wasn't listening. She criticized me for insinuating siblings caring for each other was parentifying me, and accused me of being ableist as Ryan can't help his conditions and shouldn't be excluded, as well as being biased against the kid I'm not related to. It got very fiery and ended with me saying read the room, it's a girls' day, and her hanging up. Anyways, she went to the girls and said either they ask me for Ryan to come or they can't go. Flo texted me begging to not let him come and asking if they can still join us, while Ivy is more torn up as she doesn't want her brother to be left out but also doesn't want to risk her day being ruined. My mother, Tom and sister have contacted me saying I should bring Ryan as to not show favorites and to be inclusive. Husband is on my side. AITA Edit to answer a few FAQs. Tom, Kate and my husband are all working the day of the trip. I took PTO and Kate and Tom had childcare arranged. I like this quality time as it's accessible and his parents are around. I just booked days out around my daughter's interests, which happen to be the exact opposite of his. She's a really artsy girly girl who likes the theater, shopping, museums, movie nights and slumber parties while he's into Lego, video games and anything martial arts. Edit 2, thank you so much for everyone who commented, an absolutely crazy number. Here is the link to the update on my profile for those interested. Well, that blew up. Front page is wild. Thank you to everyone who commented, currently on a break at work so gonna quickly update. Shit has hit the fan basically. Removed the previous update as I was too sleep deprived to do the title properly. Your comments made me realize that I am right to not bring Ryan. It's not safe with just me, and especially after reading comments from people who have special needs children/siblings who have had to pull all children out of days out as there hasn't been enough adults. I'm not doing that. The girls also deserve to do the things that they want. I will also make a conscious effort to do stuff with Ryan. I'm going to suggest to Tom that me and him take him to Legoland when it reopens in the spring. A recap of characters: me, 42F, my daughter Ava, 12F, my brother Tom, 46M, his wife Kate, 45F, and their kids Flo, 14F, Ivy, 11F, and Ryan, 10M. The new players are my husband Ben, 43M, mine and Tom's sister Mia, 40F, and my mum, 70F, who we will just call Mom. Because of the character limit, I couldn't elaborate on a few things. I do spend quality time with Ryan, just don't take him on days out. We both love Lego, which Ava doesn't, so it's great to have someone to bond with over that, and as we live a 15-minute walk away we see each other quite often. It's usually at their house as it's easier shepherding one kid rather than three. Sometimes he'll pick to hang with the girls, where they will play an activity they all enjoy like Mario Kart, but most of the time he'll pick to hang with me. He is one of those kids who thrives hanging with adults than other children, which is why his parents endorsed the girls' days as it meant they get 2:1 time with him. He gets on with his sisters as they are both super calm and kind girls, but most of his meltdowns arise from confrontation with other kids or his sisters wanting to do something that he doesn't like. Some examples include Flo playing music in her room or them picking a movie he doesn't want. Obviously when they do a vote the girls' pick usually wins as there's two of them, and he gets stressed out a lot by other kids at school. Kate and Tom encourage the girls to be empathetic and let him have his way, but I think this means the girls sometimes lose out. He's got some friends at school who he has frequent playdates with, especially when the girls are out the house, and he's friends with Mia's two sons who are 10 and 8, and sometimes gets invites to go to laser tag with them, but they live slightly further away and as it's on weekends Tom or Kate are always there as they have to take him. Back to the story. Ben walked Ava to school today, and Flo and Ivy go to the same school. In the UK, the first year of secondary school is when the kid is November 12th, so Ryan is at primary school still, joining the girls next September. Flo was waiting by the gates, the girls walked themselves, and asked to talk with him after Ava went in. She basically said that she loves her brother but really values having days out with me, Tom and Ava because it's calmer, and when they went Winter Wonderland 2 years ago. He was chill for about 4 hours but they ended up leaving earlier than planned as he was starting to get cranky with all the queues and they didn't want to risk meltdowns there. As they started with the rides that he wanted, they had only done 1 or 2 that the girls wanted and didn't do the ice skating, which is what she really wanted to do. She also mentioned when the family went to a restaurant recently, Ryan threw a fit as the food was taking too long and he was hungry. Tom took him home and while the girls were trying to chat to Kate, she was too busy on her phone trying to message Tom to see if Ryan was okay. I also have noticed that the girls are at my house a lot lately. As they are responsible for walking themselves home, they will just go to mine to do homework as it's empty otherwise until I get home at 5:30. Ivy and Ava are in the same class so do homework together. Flo will often chat a lot to me and Ben, often about gossip, what happened at school. I thought nothing of it, but now I wonder if she even has those chats with her parents. Where Flo and Ava are both pretty headstrong and confident, Ivy is sensitive, and I think her mom saying she's excluding her brother really gets to her. Ben relayed this to me and I contacted Tom telling him we need to meet. He works long hours but agreed to swing by mine after work to hash the issues out. While Kate is lovely, she thinks with her heart, while I think Tom is more level-headed. At the minute he's on the Bring Ryan team, but I think when I lay out why that is not possible, the lack of other adults / the girls' feelings / the length of time we are planning on staying, I am hoping he sees the light. This morning I also got texts from my mum and Mia, both on Kate's side. My mum has had a past of kind of favoring her son over her daughters, and she was saying that Tom was valiant adopting Ryan and it was my duty as the local family member to make sure that he was accepted as much as possible. To those who said, send her along, I wish lol, but also found out she and my dad booked a last-minute flight to get some winter sun for a few days. Mia was more leveled but still on their side, saying I needed to keep the peace as we don't want to scrap just before Christmas, but when I mentioned she organized things without the girls she got quiet. I also found out she is also the designated Ryan babysitter for that day, so think she might be trying to pawn him off on me so she doesn't have to come over. She lives a 45-minute drive away and her kids are driving down to hang with Ryan in his house and in the local area as Kate works in our town, so is close by if there is an emergency. I was thinking about asking my sister if her and the boys wanted to come, but as her boys are younger I would be scared of the girls being overshadowed and I'm not sure we can manage 6 kids between the 2 of us at Winter Wonderland. Her youngest is also not the height requirement for a lot of the rides the girls want to do as he's pretty short for his age. It also takes away from the girls' day. They've really talked a lot about it and I don't want them feeling awkward about doing something because Ryan doesn't want to. Maybe we can come again next year when we have all 6 parents available, so more flexibility, but for now, I think it's safest going with the girls only. I am slightly concerned that with the way Kate is behaving she might tell Mia not to come and drop all 3 at mine on Friday, but Ben, WFH, says he will babysit if need be. Ryan really likes him, and I think he would prefer playing on Ben's PS5 to the theme park anyways. I don't want it to come to that as it's cruel to tell the kid he can't come when he's at my door but wouldn't know what else to do. I am pretty nervous about how my brother will react, especially to Flo talking to Ben, as I really don't want to fight or her to get in trouble. I'll mention what she said but not anything where I can see it starting a fight. Ben told her to speak to her parents too, so that may be happening, but I think it would just be her as Ivy is very timid and doesn't want to make her parents sad. I don't want to be cut off from my nieces as I love them a lot and know they love their cousin, so really want to resolve this. Any advice would be appreciated. Stories number 29. I, 20M, have been hiding tens of thousands from my parents for years. At the start of high school, I was pretty broke as many high school kids are. To gain more freedom I worked hard to start my career as a 3D artist, and I was making a couple hundred every few weeks at best during most of high school. Even with how little I made compared to how hard I worked, my mom and stepdad would pressure me to chip in for the groceries and mortgage payments. Keep in mind, we aren't poor or anything, we were middle class, and they just wanted more financial freedom for themselves so they can consistently go on luxury vacations. I also have a few siblings, now in the higher years of high school, who they also do the bare minimum for, not bad enough to where it's child neglect but definitely not great parenting considering none of us could focus on our studies while having to work. The creative industry is difficult and unforgiving, and I put blood, sweat and tears into my work to get where I am at this age. I'm not going to let them pressure me into making any big contributions to their finances so that they can keep going on excessive vacationing sprees. Only me and my girlfriend know how much I really make. I have been saving tens of thousands of dollars without anyone else around me knowing. One day they'll find out how much I have, but for now I will bide my time and take advantage of as little financial burden as possible. Once they do, I'll simply move out and be done with them. Edit. Thanks a lot for the advice and comments everyone. Just to clarify, I do of course take care of my own expenses and my siblings, since I wouldn't want them to be overburdened like I was. I am not pitching into the household bills because they don't deserve it. They are very much fully capable of handling everything comfortably if they just tone down their luxurious lifestyle, and I would just be reinforcing their irresponsible behavior by helping more. Stories number 30. My 38M wife, 35F, lost a lot of weight to gain the attention of her work crush. How do I move forward? After we had our kids my wife gained a lot of weight, like 80 pounds. And honestly I was fine with it. I thought she was still hot and my desire for intimacy never waned. So for a while she was fine with her weight too. Fast forward 5 years and all of a sudden my wife gets really into fitness and nutrition. She buys a Peloton, goes on a strict diet and loses all the weight and then some. She looks like she did when I met her in her early 20s. She looks great, but like I said I thought she looked great heavy too. Then one day last week she comes home from work and I can tell something is really bothering her. I ask what's wrong but she's just evasive and distant. This lasts a few days before she finally breaks. She tells me that the reason she was so determined to lose weight was because she wanted attention from the guy at work she has a crush on. She said that all the women have a crush on this guy and she just wanted his attention. Well, apparently she got too much of it on the day she came home so upset. He had apparently been flirting with my wife for a few weeks, and that day he asked her if she wanted to have dinner with him after work at a restaurant that just so happens to be in a hotel. He heavily implied that they could get a room afterward or even skip the restaurant and just get room service. She tells me that to this point it was all just fantasy in her head, but now it was real and she snapped out of it. She realized that she'd gone way too far. She declined his invitation of course and felt she needed to confess what she'd done to me. I was crushed and still am. First, I'm actually upset she told me. I know this is some form of cheating, but I didn't suspect anything. She could have just kept this to herself and not pass her burden on to me. So the thought comes to my mind that maybe she wants me to dump her so she can be with this guy, and that's why she is telling me. So I ask her that and she breaks down crying. That's not what she wants. She says she loves me and just wanted to be honest with me and apologize. Nothing physical happened, I'm pretty sure of it. I can track her phone and also have pretty free access to it. She never hides it, leaves it everywhere, and that phone never leaves work. I suppose she could be cheating on her lunch break and leave the phone, but I just don't think she'd leave the phone and not be available for the kids. So I don't think I want a divorce. I love her and we have kids. But it's just eating at me that she did all the work she did to be attractive for another man. I don't know where to go or even what to ask of her. I just need some advice. Update. I want to thank everyone for commenting on my original post. I got some good advice, but above all I just needed to vent, so thanks for listening. I talked more with my wife after my first post in an attempt to understand why she did what she did. From what she tells me, every woman in the office swoons over this guy. They all flirted with him, my wife included, and he never flirted back. A few of the single ones have basically thrown themselves at him but still got nothing. So my wife thinks to herself that when she was younger and thinner she could and did have guys that looked like him chase after her. So she wanted to prove to herself that she still could get the attention of a hot young guy if she wanted. To answer a common question, yes, she was very heavily flirting with him. But she says that he knew she was married, and since she didn't plan on ever being with him alone, it was harmless. Now that I think about it, she was in a great mood in the few weeks prior to her breaking down. She was kind of all over me as well. We hadn't had that much sex in years. She tells me that it wasn't so much the guy at work heating her up but how his attention made her feel. Which again, I always given her plenty of attention. Why that wasn't enough to make her feel good about herself I don't know. And that's really what hurts me most. What I thought of her didn't matter. She says what I thought did matter, but she asked me if she walked past me on the street at her heaviest, would I turn and look? I don't do that with anyone, but I would still have found her attractive. But I guess I see the point she is making. When she was younger she did get a lot of head turns and she got used to that. She liked the attention, and when that all went away it made her depressed. In the end I think we will be okay, I'll get over this, but as of now I'm not letting her know that. I told her she needs to go to therapy and work on why she needs this external validation from people she doesn't care about. She agreed to do that. Like I said in my original post, I don't think she did anything physical with him. We have lifestyle 360 and I see where she goes, and she goes straight from home to the office and back every day. She either brings lunch or gets something delivered. I just don't think that happened. I acted cold toward her for a few days. It maybe have been little cruel, but I wanted her to sweat a little and think I was questioning the relationship. Selfishly I wanted to see her panic and try to win me back. I felt I needed to see she cares what I think of her. She was a mess, bordering on desperate. She cried a lot, which will eventually broke me. I love her and couldn't stand to see her sad. So in short, she is going to go to therapy and we will do couples counseling down the road. Thanks for all the advice everyone. Stories number 31. How to accept I am not attractive. Hi. So I am 26F and I went out for drinks with some friends last night. We were all having fun and one of my friends told me he wanted to take a picture of me, so I posed for a picture. He then said, so beautiful, to the picture / his phone, then looked in my direction and said, it's not the same as what I see in person, and that broke my heart. Later, 2 of my friends drove me home. They asked what happened, and when I told them, their response was, "Tohu, yeah, he did not call you ugly, just implied it, nothing else." It's weird, but I thought there would be a, "No OFC, you're not ugly," or something, but no. Previously another friend of mine pointed out how my sister was so much more attractive than me. Other times I have gotten comments of, "No way, that's your sister's," or, "Oh wow, you look really good in that picture, you're very photogenic," even, "You look way much older than you are," etc. My group of friends will easily make comments like those that imply I am not pretty in person. They also act shocked when I go on dates with really good-looking people. At this point I am accepting actual pretty people do not get this comments. I realize I just need to deal with the fact that I am not attractive and for some reason people feel safe joking about it to my face. I just don't know how to deal with it, you know. Like, I cried all night last night. It was a combination of feeling ugly but mostly feeling disrespected by my friends. But I get I am not a young thin beauty, I am what I am. So how can I accept my level of attractiveness? How can I not let these comments affect me? Stories number 32. AITA for telling my MIL she wasn't allowed to touch anything in my kitchen again without permission. My 27F, mother-in-law, 50F, is visiting for Christmas this year. Prior to her visiting, I put together a list of meals we would eat while she visited, including our Christmas Eve and Christmas Day meal. In order to avoid going to the grocery store an unnecessary amount of times while she visited and did a huge grocery pickup of over $400 including ingredients for the pre-planned meals, a ton of snacks, mimosa ingredients for Christmas, and a box of adult beverages for myself. After I picked her up from the airport, I also took her to the store so she could buy her own adult beverages and anything else she needed for her visit. I specifically told her I was making a ham and macaroni and cheese on Christmas Eve and a lasagna on Christmas and that I had bought us each a bottle of champagne and a carton of OJ for mimosas on Christmas. This morning, 2 days before Christmas, she told me she had stole a few of my drinks because she ran out last night and needed a few to help her sleep. I was irritated to find that she drank 7 of my 12-pack of drinks but still said that was okay and ran to the store to get more drinks. It took me an hour to drive to a store 3 minutes from my house, grab the drinks, check out, and drive home due to the number of people doing last-minute Christmas shopping. After I got home, I saw that she was taking bites out of one of the block of cheese I needed for the mac and cheese. Thankfully I had extra cheese because I was going to put out cheese and crackers as an appetizer on Christmas but decided it wasn't worth going back to the store for. I asked her to please not eat any more of the cheese because I needed it and she responded with, "Oh, okay," and seemed annoyed. Within an hour, I noticed one of the orange juice cartons was sitting on the counter and when I went to go assess the damage, I discovered the carton was nearly empty. I reminded her the orange juice was for the mimosas on Christmas and she responded again with, "Oh, okay." Not even an hour after this, I noticed the ricotta cheese in my fridge had food on the side of the container so I opened it and it was half eaten. I lost it on her and said that she was not to touch another thing in my kitchen again without asking first because she could have very easily have just ruined our Christmas Eve and Christmas Day meal had I not realized she was eating the ingredients. She stared at me blankly for a few seconds and said, "Sorry, I didn't realize you needed any of that." I ended up having to go back out to replace the ricotta cheese and other items she ate which thankfully only took me a half hour but now I'm feeling guilty for yelling at her. Especially because she'll be at my house for 3 more full days and I feel like I've created tension between us until she leaves. So AITA. I also feel like it's necessary to mention that I have other family coming for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and the other meals I plan to make while she's here would not been enough to feed everyone so I couldn't have just made something else. Stories number 33. AITA if I declined being my sister's maid of honor because she stole my baby name. Sorry if this is all over the place, my mind is a mess after dealing with work drama, Christmas chaos and this disaster. My sister just had a baby about a month ago. When her husband announced that it was a girl my mom said, "Welcome Isabel," visibility shaken, I chose not to say something in that moment as I didn't want to take away from my sister. My whole family knew. My mom, dad and brother didn't tell her maybe that's a bad choice or I don't know, maybe mention it to me so I wouldn't be blindsided. They chose to exclude me from knowing the baby's name because they know how fucked up it is. They keep gaslighting me saying it's no big deal. The day I went to see my new niece, my sister asked me if I'd be her maid of honor. Being as she just got home from the hospital and it was the first time meeting the baby, I didn't decline. I hate drama and will avoid it at all costs. I was so supportive of her throughout her pregnancy. I answered any questions she had. I gave her all of my baby stuff and saved her hundreds. I planned to paint the mural in the baby room. I stood by her as a witness when she eloped. And not once did she tell me she was considering using my baby's name. Christmas is around the corner and it will be the first time the whole family is together since baby was born. I'm scared of the shitshow that will inevitably happen. I don't want to ruin Christmas and will bite my tongue until the next time we're all together as it's just not the time or place. But knowing my family, someone is going to say something stupid to push my buttons and I can only take so much crap before I'm forced to defend myself. So after taking time to think about all that has happened, I'm absolutely seething and wish I spoke up not only for myself, but most importantly, my daughter. My daughter Isabella is 8. They tell her it's no big deal and she only feels that way because of me. For the record, when I told her she has a new girl cousin, all she has are boy first cousins, and guess her name. She said, "I know, Lola, Grandma," told me already unamused face she was very unhappy without me saying anything. She's only vocal about it now because I let her know it's okay to express how she feels and no one can force her to feel otherwise. So at one point they even told my daughter her name choice and she was so scared to tell me as everyone else told her it's fine and to basically get over it. Depending on how Christmas goes, I want to distance myself from my family despite us being fairly close. And I definitely don't want to be the maid of honor in charge of giving a speech at the wedding because my drunk ass is not exactly as quiet or tolerant. So Reddit, would I be the asshole to now decline being my sister's maid of honor because she stole my daughter's name? Edit to add, this isn't a family name, there is no tradition. We don't talk to extended family, I didn't grow up with any cousins on my mom's side. It's literally just my mom, dad, sister, and brother. There's only 3 grandchildren, 2 being mine, boy and girl. Stories number 34. AITA for saying no to my boyfriend's proposal because I hated the ring. I 24F have been with my boyfriend 29M for 4 years. We've been discussing marriage a lot lately and Eve sent him engagement rings I like so he could get a feel for what I'm into when the time was right. He proposed to me a few days ago and while the proposal wasn't exactly how I imagined, it was still very sweet. When he pulled out the ring it was the complete opposite of what I like and honestly, it was ugly. I hated it. I told him while I'd love to marry him, I did not like this ring and felt like since I sent him so many I loved and he didn't pay attention to those details, it didn't bode well for a marriage. He told me that was pretty shallow and is hurt I prioritized a ring over our relationship and said he spent a lot of time planning this proposal and finding the perfect ring. I feel bad and now think I should have just smiled and dealt with it because it's the thought that counts. Am I the asshole? I broke up with him. I tried to have a discussion with him and he wasn't listening at all and I realized I'm young and I'm pretty and I deserve more. Hope he finds someone who likes that ugly-ass costume jewelry ring. Stories number 35. AITA for cutting off my mom after learning she's actually my grandmother. I, 22F, recently learned a devastating family secret and I'm struggling to even put it into words. My entire life, I thought my mom, 54F, was the one who raised me as a single parent. She always said my dad wasn't in the picture and that she sacrificed a lot to give me a good life. My older sister, Emily, 37F, not her real name, was always around when I was a kid. She lived with us until I was about 12, and I adored her. She was the fun, carefree sibling who always treated me like her little buddy. But when I hit middle school, she moved out, and we grew distant. I figured that's just how adult siblings are. About a month ago, Emily came to visit, and she looked so nervous the entire time. Eventually, she sat me down and said, "I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it." That's when she told me she's not my sister, she's my mom. I didn't believe her at first, but then she started showing me old photos and documents. She explained that she got pregnant with me at 15 and that my mom, who's actually my grandmother, decided to raise me as her own to avoid the stigma of a teenage pregnancy. Emily told me she wanted to keep me, but my mom convinced her it was the only way I'd have a stable life and future. When I confronted my mom, she didn't deny it. She said she did what she had to do and acted like I was ungrateful for being upset. She even accused Emily of being selfish for telling me the truth and ruining the family dynamic. I feel like my entire life has been a lie. I don't know how to feel about Emily. I understand she was a scared teenager, but part of me feels betrayed that she let this go on for so long. And my mom doesn't seem to think she did anything wrong. I've been avoiding both of them while I try to process this, but my mom keeps calling me selfish and ungrateful, and Emily keeps begging me to forgive her. I know some people might think this story isn't real, and honestly, I wish it wasn't. I've never wanted anything to be less true in my life. AITA. Stories number 36. The newest LOTR movie is a masterpiece, and nobody will watch it cause it's too woke. This will be a spoiler-free post. Mainly just ranting at the awful comments and posts I've been seeing online. Lots of incels saying the movie is too woke because you have a female protagonist. What? Did you even watch the original trilogy where there were several badass women? Did you forget Eowyn, Galadriel, or Arwen? That reasoning is awful. So this movie is getting review bombed because a bunch of insecure men can't handle a woman actually doing well. They can't handle seeing a reflection of themselves in the villain. The movie was beautiful to watch, had a lot of really strong messages, and felt more like it came out of the LOTR world than The Hobbit, but that all gets thrown out the window because a character with two X chromosomes is in charge. Meanwhile, everyone is talking about how fantastic her father is because he's the embodiment of every guy's power fantasy. So much work and effort put into this work of art wasted because of sexism. It's really frustrating seeing how much of a labor of love this movie was, and it probably won't even be mentioned in a year. Stories number 37. AITA for telling my pregnant sister to lower her expectations for me as an uncle. Advice needed. My sister is pregnant with her first child and is very excited about it. I'm happy for her because she really wants to be a mom. I have never particularly liked kids. I always said I never wanted kids of my own even when I was young. Things changed somewhat and I have a stepson that I adore, but other than him I still do not like kids. For some reason people around me interpret my relationship with my stepson as me having softened my dislike of children when I am very clear this is not the case. I am also very introverted and do not do much as far as being around people that is more than the bare minimum to keep those around me happy. I am much happier home either alone or with my girlfriend and stepson just hanging out than with the rest of my family or with friends. My sister today was excited about her pregnancy and I was indulging her to be nice. She started going off on all the fun things I can do as an uncle with her yet-to-be-born child and at first I just let it go. I didn't play along or say no, I just let her talk. She wouldn't stop and eventually it just got to be too much and I told her she needed to cool it. She asked what I meant and I said her and I have a different view of my role as an uncle. She asked what I meant and I said I would see her kid on birthdays, holidays, and family events, but I didn't see myself doing all the things she was naming off. She got very upset and said how could I say that about my soon-to-be first niece/nephew. I reminded her I am not the biggest fan of children and didn't see myself having a particularly close relationship with her child. She mentioned what a good dad I am to my stepson and I said that's different, that's my son, I'm not her kid's father and I don't have to be involved with her kid if I don't want to be. We also have another brother and we both know he will be wanting to do as much with her kid as possible, so I said it's not like the kid needs me. My parents then got the hint her and I were in a disagreement and came over to see what was going on. Both my parents are on her side and think I should be a better uncle and also should not have said something to upset my pregnant sister. So I have to ask, AITA. Edit, I talked with my brother about it. He basically said based off of everything I've said my entire life he doesn't understand why my sister would have ever had these expectations to begin with. He's not on anyone's side. He said he gets why she wants more from me but also thinks that she should have expected this. Stories number 38. AIO in-laws gave us cot for one of us to sleep on while visiting. My husband and I are spending Christmas with his grandparents as they are elderly and we want the memories while everyone else in my husband's family was traveling to see them. They enthusiastically urged us to do so and said they had lots of rooms so we should stay in their house. $1,500 and 8 hours of flights later we arrive very tired after taking a red-eye flight. They have given us a room to share that has a twin bed and a canvas camping cot. Anytime you turn over in the cot it makes a loud semi-farting noise. My husband has heroically taken the cot since he's a sounder sleep but I feel so bad since it's short and not comfy. We are staying for 8 more nights and we're under the impression we'd be sharing a queen mattress. At this point I'm considering dropping $1,000 on a hotel because of the sleeping situation if there's not something we can do to make the cot better, a cot mattress, but I feel his grandparents might be offended over this. Am I overreacting? Stories number 39. AITA for telling my husband off and getting into a huge argument because he refuses to help around the house and does nothing after work. So, I, F32, really need some outside perspective on this because I'm just feeling so fed up and frustrated with my husband, M35. I work full-time, like 9 to 5 every weekday, and I also do pretty much everything at home. I clean, cook, do the laundry, grocery shop, and take care of our 2 kids, 7 and 4. It's a lot. But my husband gets home from work, plops on the couch with a beer, and just does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Lately, with Christmas coming up, it's like my to-do list is just growing by the day. I'm trying to decorate the house, plan the meals, buy gifts, wrap presents, and, just manage everything that comes with the holidays. Meanwhile, he's just sitting there, watching TV or playing on his phone, totally checked out of what's going on around him. I don't expect him to do everything. I get that he works too, but he doesn't even help with small stuff. Like, he can't cook dinner sometimes. Or help clean up after the kids. I don't get it. I've tried talking to him about it multiple times. I've said things like, hey, can you help me with this? Or, I'm feeling really overwhelmed, can we divide things up a little more? But every time, he just brushes me off. He says he's tired after work, and that he needs to relax or unwind. But I'm tired too. I don't just sit around all day doing nothing. And I can't even remember the last time I had a proper break. Last night, I finally snapped. We had dinner, which, of course, I cooked, and the kids were running around, getting into everything. I was trying to clean up, make a grocery list for the next day, and honestly just keep it all together. He was sitting on the couch, drinking a beer, watching the game. I just couldn't take it anymore. I told him I was done doing everything myself and that it wasn't fair. I told him he needed to step up, help out with the housework, and actually be a partner. I said, if you want to do nothing and just lie there, then fine, but don't expect me to carry this whole damn family on my own. He got really defensive, saying I was overdramatic and that I was blowing things out of proportion. He said that he works hard too, and when he gets home, he just needs to chill out. He even told me that if I'm so overwhelmed, I should hire help or something, but he's not going to do everything I ask. He said I'm just trying to control everything, and that he doesn't need to do everything I want. We ended up yelling at each other, and honestly, I feel awful. But I also feel like I can't keep doing everything alone, especially during the holidays when things get even crazier. So, AITA for telling him off and causing such a huge fight. Maybe I was a bit harsh, but I honestly just can't take it anymore. Stories number 40. AITA if I choose to go my PhD graduation instead of my sister's wedding. I'm graduating from my PhD program in the spring. I've been picturing this day for the last 4 years and already had so many ideas for how I would celebrate in my head. My sister just told me that she has planned her wedding for the same day as my graduation. She is not willing to choose a different date as the numerology is what she's after. I just feel weird about the whole thing as she seems to have planned her wedding on a whim, but still expects me to change my celebration plans for hers. A couple things to consider. My graduation is out of state, so it's not like I could walk and then still make it to the wedding. I spent time and money to get ordained specifically so I could officiate her wedding, but she has decided she doesn't want that and has chosen to go to the courthouse instead. Her wedding is not extravagant, just the courthouse and then dinner with the immediate family. My own 6-year wedding anniversary is only 2 days after her planned wedding date. This irks my husband, but I get it, we don't own the calendar. I've offered to plan her bachelorette party, bridal shower, and help her with anything she needs wedding planning wise, but she is not interested. She already planned and paid for her own bachelorette party. Edit. 6. My family was planning on attending my graduation as well, but if I choose to walk then they will be put in the awkward position of choosing which event to attend. My first instinct was that of course I'll be there for my sister, but her behavior is making it seem like she doesn't really care whether I'm there or not. I haven't made any travel plans yet, but I'm trying to consider what would be best. Stories number 41. AITA for telling my mom she deserves to be homeless. This happened literally about an hour ago after I got home from work, so apologies if it is all over the place. I, 23F, live with my mom, 53F, and my brother, 26M, in a subsidized housing townhome. For little context, my brother is unemployed and does not contribute, so rent, utilities, groceries are split between my mother and I. I get home this evening and there's a letter from our housing group in the mailbox at our door. It's basically a letter telling us that we're $3,200 behind on rent and could face eviction. I do send my mom $650 at the end of every month as our rent is just $1,185 and I cover the majority of the groceries, our internet and cable plus my gas for my car. I decided to bring it up to her when I get inside because in my head it makes zero sense that we're behind considering I was sending her money every month to pay my half along with hers and I believed she was paying it. After me continuously asking how this would be possible, she quietly admitted for the past 4 months she was not paying her portion and dipped into mine sometimes because there were other necessities like hydro, electricity. Some groceries and transportation, which yes is costly during winter months, but has been still buying cartons of cigarettes weekly, take out multiple times a week and admitted she gambled quite a bit because she thought she could win extra money and cover the arrears so I would not have known, which clearly didn't work. In as few words as possible I told her she's a selfish mother, my respect for her is gone and if worst comes to worst we do get evicted, she deserves to be homeless. Not only for lying and not telling me what was going on because I could have afforded to pay more of the rent and utilities on my own to lighten any burden if she had just said something earlier. But to spend yours and your kids' rent money on gambling and many of your own wants selfishly instead of keeping a roof over your own head or just asking for help is rock bottom and you more so deserve whatever happens at this point because we now cannot afford to pay it back. I have my boyfriend I can stay with if anything happens, but her and my brother are on their own. The only reason I feel like I was a little bit of an AH is because I truly know how expensive life is right now and telling my own mother she deserves to be homeless might be inconsiderate in a time where she could really be struggling. But the anger I feel is overtaking any sympathy I have right now and I just want to know if my reaction was just possibly overkill. Stories number 42. AIO 28F, by breaking it off with my so, 30F, because I may never meet her kid. My GF has a 4-year-old. I have been with her for 3 years. I've never met her child because her and her baby's father have an agreement that no new partners can meet their child as a safety thing. Okay, sure, I understand no random new people and LVE never pushed it hard, but after 3 years of consistent dating I don't see a future in this. They co-parent well and are friendly. When we were more causal I had no problem with them carpooling for doctor's appointments or to school events. But 3 years and they're still taking pictures as a family and co-parenting this closely. Her baby daddy still isn't comfortable meeting me in person or letting me meet their kid. And doesn't know when he will. They didn't think they wouldn't work out and never envisioned step-parents in their kid's life. Her and I had great romantic chemistry up until the end, and got along well besides this one thing that I broke it off saying they should just work it out with him as a couple. It makes more sense. She claims she loves me and I'm being petty. But I want my own family sooner than later. I was perfectly happy including her child in that and supporting co-parenting, but they have an arrangement to keep her safe, and we just have to wait to get more serious until their child is older, late teens. Her solution was to just have 2 separate family units if I couldn't wait 10 years, I said no to both of her solutions and we broke up. Feels like her ex had too much control and time with her and it takes away a huge chunk of intimacy and feels like she's still committed to him. She says this is a perfectly normal arrangement to have with a co-parent, it's very common and responsible, and I'm being selfish. And it's not worth throwing away a good connection. Edit, with a few more details I didn't think I'd get this many comments. She and her ex were never married, childhood lovers she claimed she'd outgrew and broken up with when we met. A few family members and all her friends knew. We already broke up before I posted this. I don't plan on going back, I just needed to know if I was overreacting. He knew about us and was openly bitter. She enabled it. After we'd been together for 2 years and I started pushing to get more serious and told her to speak with him, they decided that what's best for their child is 2 bio parents. When I said that's insane we let it ride for a few more months and I brought it up and said how unsustainable this is and to just make things work with him. The kicker is in the first year and a half I asked several times if she'd rather be friends with benefits when I felt she was distant and busy parenting and she kept saying she wanted more than that, she wanted love and domestic partnership, but she didn't know when the right time would be. Stories number 43. AITA for not allowing my daughter to quit piano. Not the a-hole. Over the summer, my daughter Annie, 14, asked for piano lessons. My wife and I were surprised since Annie had never shown any interest in music. But Annie assured us that she was serious. Since she's a straight-A student, we didn't doubt her. It's also important to note that my wife and I have a rule that our kids can participate in any reasonable extracurricular activity, but they have to stick with it for a year/season before they can quit. No questions asked if they do quit after the year/season, though. Edit, just to make it crystal clear, we've never forced Annie and her older siblings into particular extracurriculars. We've always given them the freedom to choose which extracurriculars to participate in. Annie started lessons in right as the school year started. She practices for at least an hour every day, and her teacher has spoken positively to us about her dedication and rapid progress. Earlier this month, my wife and I went to the end-of-semester recital that Annie's teacher requires his students to perform in. We thought that she played beautifully, but during the car ride home Annie told us that she wanted to quit piano. I asked why, and she said that she was embarrassed because She played the same piece as a 6-year-old and B. Emily played a well-known Chopin piece. Emily is Annie's former best friend. Since both girls are very competitive and were always at the top of the class, they went from friends to frenemies. As far as I know, they still hang out in larger group settings but not one-on-one. I reminded Annie of the no quitting before a year rule and suggested switching piano teachers if she wanted to avoid playing during the same recital as Emily. But Annie said that it didn't matter if she switched teachers because Emily already knew how bad she was at piano. Thankfully, my wife is 100% on my side here, but several family members who are with us for Christmas have said that I should let Annie quit piano. Stories number 44. AITA for being upset that my MIL told my 7-year-old that Santa doesn't exist. My husband and I let my son spend the night with my in-laws last night. He called me this afternoon and said Grandma said that Santa isn't real. He asked her why she said that and she said it is really your mommy and daddy that buy you the gifts. I was devastated, but was sure that there was some sort of misunderstanding on his part. When I asked her about it she said, well, I don't believe in lying to children. He should believe in Jesus, not Santa. I was floored and so upset. She was more worried about herself and fulfilling her own needs, wanting to have a closeness with him beyond the closeness he has with us. I am so upset for so many reasons, but mostly because my son still wanted to believe. I am also mad at myself for trusting her with my most precious gift. Stories number 45. Karen screamed at me and called me crazy for daring to be on her road. Hello all you happy people. I will start by saying, I am a wheelchair user. Even though I am confined to a chair when I leave my apt, I treasure what little independence I have and strive to do as much as I can on my own. This morning, being smack dab in between a snowstorm and Christmas, I had to venture out for a few last-minute things. We had a blizzard on Saturday, so I don't think I have to say how very much our sidewalks suck right now, even though I know the crews are doing their best to clear things up. Between snowbanks blocking the entrances, huge pools of ice covering the whole sidewalk in places, and piles of slush, it's a fun-filled navigation nightmare lol. So I was forced to give up and use the roads and try and stick to the bike lanes. Trust me, if I could have stayed home I would have. So, there I was, making my way down the road. Trust me, I am easy to spot lol. I was doing my thing, and some random bitch decided to lean out her car window and scream at me, asking if I were fucking crazy. Like bitch, I'm just trying to get home without dying, I don't need you piling on with your ignorance of the situation. Maybe try and look around and notice what's happening before you scream at a rando in a wheelchair. Merry fucking Christmas to you too, Karen. I need more coffee. Stories number 46. AITA because I put earplugs in while I slept and missed my family trying to get a hold of me. Pretty much like the title says. I haven't been sleeping well lately, and had a family member tell me the night before that they'd be up early and probably loudly trying to clean the house last minute before the holiday. I had intended to get up with them and work on my own last minute stuff, work on double checking and wrapping holiday stuff, and then throwing something together in the crockpot for dinner later. However, I got maybe 3 hours of sleep between wife's alarm for work, other family's sleep schedule, and various animals needing to go out. Which wouldn't normally be a problem. Except that 1. I have seizures and exhaustion is a big trigger. 2. This isn't the first time this week I've been lucky to get a handful of hours of sleep. 3. I've literally been having seizures again lately and my family is at a loss as to why, meds are being taken / on time, no new diet or antibiotics / meds etc. So, I tried to get a small nap before I went to go start the day. I knew people were probably going to vacuum and overall be loud any minute, so I put in some earplugs and called it a day. Besides, there wasn't anything I needed to be up to help people with, and previously if I didn't get up / start the day everyone just teased me about sleeping in and we went about our day. Except I woke up to someone pounding on the door screaming my name and only stopped when I screamed back. I tried to answer them like a normal human but I guess they didn't hear me. I was awake and okay. I keep my phone on silent when I'm asleep but apparently I had a dozen missed texts in the span of 5 minutes checking if I was alive and asking if they could vacuum. Now they're throwing and banging things outside the bedroom door, screaming at all the animals, and sighing loudly, in the way that in cartoons means the character wants someone to ask them what's wrong. I feel like I'm in hell, I can't go back to sleep, and even though I'm wide awake and have so much I need to do before the holiday break starts I feel like I'm trapped in the bedroom and if I leave I'm going to get screamed at, again. Am I the asshole for handling everything the way I did? Stories number 47. AITA for not splitting my finances with my husband. Me, F25, and my husband, M26, got married this summer. We live in an apartment that I own. I have a full-time job and I'm earning more than him. He works from home and earns also well, but I'm slightly above him with my salary. We are sharing equally our finances like a husband and wife should. Well, I am also a collector. I spend plenty of time going to flea markets at 5 a.m. 4 times a week. I collect, I restore, and I also sell. eBay is my side hustle. Not only I enjoy collecting but I'm also earning some side money from there. I restore most of the junk and try to make a profit to grow my collection. My husband knew all of this because we dated for 7 years prior. I was very upfront and I told him that the money I make from my collection and from my flea market are the money I'm gonna invest into my collection and I won't be putting that into our household bills. It was fine. Till we got married. Then he started getting mad and angry whenever I buy something for my collection. He's constantly checking whether I sold something on eBay and ask what's my statement on my eBay's account. I have a separate debit card that I use for and from my eBay sales only and I'm not taking any money out from our monthly salaries. December was my busiest month so far with all the holidays and thankfully I was able to afford a piece for my collection that cost around $1,300 so I went for it. The thing is he still doesn't know about it. Because I fear that he'd get mad. I know it's my money and I know I have a right to spend on whatever I want but I still feel threatened and judged because of his upcoming reaction. Last month I was eyeing another piece I was missing to add to my collection and my mom offered to get it for me for Christmas, so she paid for the item, and my husband was very angry finding that out because he thought I could forward those money on getting us something else instead. Like a new coffee table or some kitchen utensils. We have no debts, it's my apartment under my name that I got. He put his fair share into it by helping out renovating and everything. I can't complain, but it was 90% me. I put my whole salary into the bills and the groceries and whatever furniture we need, so I feel it's not fair him controlling my side hustle. Recently whenever he hears the eBay notification that I have sold something is getting mad that I am making money, and is constantly putting up jokes saying, there it comes money from doing nothing. Which is pretty annoying because I put tons of effort into my collection. I have started to turn off the notifications so he won't get jealous or cocky. Once in an argument he said that me earning more and doing eBay side hustle is gonna make him seem weak and it's gonna make me more dominant. And the thing that hurt me the most was one night him jokingly saying, well I hope you don't sell anything so you wouldn't be spending those money on stupid things again.